Good afternoon. I would like to call this workshop to order at 2:01 p.m. We'll begin with our presentations. Item number 1, 27-3990, presentation of Resolution R27-006, Bell and Oak Property and Ed Plant Survey by Mr. Reagan, Director of Facilities and Construction. Good afternoon, Mr. Reagan.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Superintendent Pender, and board members. I'm here to give you a presentation about some property we own on the corner of Bell and Oak Street that has been recommended for disposition. We went through this recently with the Cowgirl Citrus Way property, so it's the same procedure, so I'm not going to bore y'all with all these details on this slide, but I will go through the procedure in each slide as to what the steps are. The first thing, this parcel is, you'll notice here at the bottom, the little green square, lot 14 at the bottom of the screen, that's the parcel itself that's highlighted there in the teal kind of, I say green, it's all green, but it's a different color green, kind of a, anyway, it's right there at the bottom. Does everybody understand? Okay. So it's 0.2 acres, which is only 8,800 square feet. We bought it in 1961 for $10. So I don't know if that was a deal or not, but I wasn't here then. This first step is the Ed Plant Survey. So we've already had that prepared and sent it to DOE. They said it's approvable by us if your board approves it. So that would be the first thing we would bring to y'all in a board meeting for approval. Followed by at a subsequent meeting, we would bring the board resolution that gives Superintendent Pender the authority to dispose of the property per Florida statute. And the third step is council had determined that the property would not need to be offered to charter schools because we haven't offered it to any other schools in the district. The way the statute's written and has been interpreted by a couple of people smarter than me is that if we don't offer it to our schools, we don't have to offer it to charter schools. So that's their stance. Then the fourth step would be appraisal, which y'all can guide me on that if you're agreeable to move forward with this. The tax assessor valued this at $21,000. The appraisal is going to cost $3,500 to $5,500, depending on who's next on the list. And it's like, is it worth spending that much to find out what it's worth? We've had some interest in the property through the years, so it might be take bids or something. I don't know, whatever y'all's desire is, but I wouldn't recommend for sure getting 2 appraisals because you're going to get half the cost of what it's appraised for at the tax assessor, which could be wrong too. The actual sale of the property, as I said, there's been a lot of inquiries about it. The location could be desirable even though it's a small lot. The superintendent would determine if it's in the best interest of the public to list with a realtor, negotiate a sale, or put it up for bid or auction. And if we did a realtor, fees would be paid by the district unless we negotiated into the purchase agreement where the buyer paid them. There is some value to using a realtor on a private sale. They prepare agreements, assist with negotiations, et cetera. If we put it up for auction, I think an auctioneer would get a cut out of that too. So that's different methods, and y'all may have some other things. I think the resolution kind of gives him the leeway to do what's in the best interest of the district for that. And then the funds, once we close, we got the money on the other one, and it went to finance, and then they would make sure it was put back into the original funding source if we knew. If not, it has to go into capital outlay projects. And that's just some general information there. So that's all I've got. If y'all got any questions or comments.
Mr. Vaughn.
Is there enough square footage with the lot to build a house on it, according to city?
What I saw driving through, well, I will say yes, because my lot's 7,000 square feet, and I've got a house on it, so, yeah.
Within the city?
No, ma'am. No, I'm in the county, but, so I would think a small house should be able to fit on there.
I just didn't know if the city had a regulation on the number of square feet allowed to build a house on the certain size property.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure they have some regulations and setbacks and all that, but I don't have them, in front of me, so.
Any further questions, board? Do we want to have him go out for an appraisal? I think that was part of the question. Or do we want to just list it for the 21,168? Is that what you
Well,
would
that's
list it
the-
for, or that was just,
That's the tax assessor's value, and keep in mind, he had 40,000 on the, I don't know their methodology, but he had 40,000 on that landlocked 1 acre that we sold, and we only got like 20-something, and to me, this parcel would be more valuable than that. So I think that's just they have more factors that go into it than just, I don't know what their methodology is, but this could be worth more, it could be worth less.
okay. Superintendent Pinder, and then,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead, Mr. Ball.
Don't we have an agreement already with a real estate
Yes, ma'am.
company to, okay. So it's not looking to try to find someone new, we have a company.
Correct.
Okay.
It's just choosing if we want to get
Why don't we list it with the real estate? Why don't we list?
an appraisal
yeah.
on it.
Why don't we list it with our realtor and let him have it
Yeah, 'cause
appraised,
either-
just go with it. It's not, we're not talking about a terrible amount of money either way you look at it.
Right. Well,
Right.
it's
Doesn't-
35,
doesn't
it's
make
around
sense.
$3,500, but not to do it twice, to just do it
Right,
once.
do it twice.
right?
Yeah, you'd have to do it
Let-
twice.
Let our insurance guy, our real estate broker get the appraisal and do it. Sell it, see what price he comes back with. That's the simple way.
Ms. Rodriguez,
I don't want to incur any extra expenses on it.
Superintendent Bender.
Wouldn't the real estate, like our real estate person, be able to tell us like comparables and just use that instead of a $3,500 appraisal?
Yes, so that's what I was going to say. They wouldn't do an appraisal. They would do a valuation, which they would just say, this is our best estimate of
Yeah.
what it's worth, but we're not, they're going to disclaim that they're not appraisers. They're not going to do an investigative.
So we wouldn't have to essentially get
Right.
an
There
appraisal.
would be no cost for that, so.
And then once the land's sold, what fund does it go into? Does it also go into the capital outlay fund where the original payment goes, or?
Yeah, I doubt if we'll be able to trace where the $10 came from in 1961, so it'll go
Right.
back to capital.
So all of it will go back to capital?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Just want a clarification on that. Okay. Any further discussion, board? Mr. Johnson? your
I
left?
can get Matt on it. Maybe we can get Matt to do some research.
He's a historian. All right. Anything further, Mr. Reagan?
No, ma'am, I appreciate it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, item number 2, 27-4022, review and tentative approval of the 27-28 controlled choice plan by Ms. Dawn Williams, Supervisor of School Choice.
Thank you, Mr. Reagan.
Welcome, Dawn. Ms. Williams.
Good afternoon. Superintendent, Madam Chair, Board Chair, Board members, I am here to present the controlled choice plan for the 27-28 school year. I'll be going over the outline of revisions. So all the dates in the 27-28 controlled choice plan have been changed to reflect the 26-27 school year, and the page numbers, I also inserted page numbers this year. On page 1, I think that would correspond to page 93 in your binders. I deleted McKay, and I deleted McKay and under examples of school choice options. So McKay used to be there as a scholarship, but McKay was folded into the Family Empowerment Scholarships. That was outdated language. On page 2, letter A, I deleted the home education language about playing sports at a non-zone school because currently home education kids can participate in any school in the district. And that would have corresponded to your page 94. On page 7, which corresponds to your page 99. I deleted the McKay Scholarship again, and then under the IB program, I deleted district and added school, and under the ACE program, I deleted and the district. So for those two programs, families go directly through the school, and then they send me their roster of students that they've accepted into their programs. And so those are the revisions for the 27-28 controlled choice plan. And at this time, do you have any questions for me?
Board, any questions? Ms. Duval?
You want to go first? No, go first. Okay, going to the application process, I'm going to ask stuff that's probably not what you've just gone over. So this is application process, letter D, schools at capacity. Do you know, it says refer to the capacity report that's posted on the Controlled Choice webpage. Do you know what those schools are for 26, 27?
Currently, I'm updating them, working to update. I was waiting after the 10-day count. I have the capacity, the updated capacity from the end of the last school year, so I'll be working on that this week. There are a few schools that are at capacity, but yeah, that will be listed. That will be posted on the Controlled Choice website. It's not,
Has it changed, do you think, from last year?
yes, probably.
Okay.
We've offered more choice seats this year than we've had in the past.
So should we change this number or just leave it alone for?
I don't know.
Well, that I believe is state statute, the 90%.
Yeah,
But we're not, but sometimes we're not following that.
No, it's only offered choice if it's at 90%.
Correct,
At
thank you.
90%, we no longer offer choice.
Correct,
Not
because
that
we're
it's
then,
90% at a capacity, but if they're up at 90% or above, then they're not eligible to choice into that school.
correct, because we have to reserve 10% for zone kids. That is correct.
All right, thank you for the clarification.
just don't know the names of those schools at this point, right?
Top of my head, Suncoast comes to mind, elementary school. Powell, for sure, Nature Coast.
It's okay. If you could
Okay.
just give that information to us when you have it, it would be great.
Sure, I'll be updating it this week, like I said, based off the 10-day count.
So
Okay.
Powell's only at 90% capacity then?
I don't know the exact number.
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah, okay. Ms. Bonsick?
So our preference for admission into our school choice gives preference for siblings, but our magnet doesn't. And I know we've all spoke about this before. But why can't they match for our school? Because a magnet is a choice too. So why can't our preferences match? Does that make sense?
No, it makes absolute
Okay.
sense. We're coming to that,
Okay.
so.
On the next,
On the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to bring it because we do have preference for siblings for school
Correct.
choice.
And that'll be in my presentation for the next one.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Ms. Duval, did you have something further? Sorry.
It's okay. Under rescinding of approved school choice, letter E, it just talks about, there's two questions here. It talks only about students who commit level 4 offenses, and level 3 in our code of conduct has those are some major offenses. So I'd like to know what the school board thinks about adding verbiage in about level 3, and perhaps more importantly, it says will be returned to their zoned district. This is going to get into something I'm going to ask in another question, but there's no timeline. So that, as I have seen in situations, has created some problems with not having a timeline.
We do have best practices around rescinding school choice. There's actually processes, procedures that Lisa Cropley and I developed several years ago.
But it's not written here,
It's,
and I think it needs to be more specific, and that goes into rescinding of school choice procedures question that I have. It's the fourth bullet point or little arrow there. If academic, behavioral, and/or attendance concerns persist, the parent will be notified in writing that school choice is being rescinded and the student must return to his or her zoned school. A little later on in that document, I have another question about the timeline, but is it not possible that we look at, for the students who commit level 4 offenses, especially those, that they return immediately? Level 3, would it not be appropriate to put down, and in what I'm talking about right now on rescinding, that the withdrawal could occur at the end of the 9 weeks or the semester, whichever is approaching first?
my apologies. There's language in the manual about, K through 8 can rescind at the end of each 9 weeks, and high school is at the end of each semester. That's in the manual.
In here.
Yep.
Help me with that, because what I saw was at the end of a school year in one document.
That's for the magnet program. So the magnet students,
I stand corrected on that.
So on page 4 of the manual, the decision, it says, a high school student whose reassignment has been rescinded will return to his or her zone school at the end of the current semester. An elementary or middle school student whose reassignment has been rescinded will return to his or her zone school at the end of the quarter.
But it's not in this document.
It is it's in the controlled choice manual, controlled choice plan. It's on page 4, so page 4, B96 in your binder. If
Yeah, but I don't have it.
the electronic upload. I'm sorry. It's under E, under rescinding of approved school choice.
That says out-of-county students.
Under E, the paragraph
Oh.
after E, rather. That's the paragraph that explains when students can be returned to their zone school.
Okay. Back to out of county.
Are you okay with the end of the semester on that one, though?
On out of county?
No, on the one that we just left?
Yeah, I have a problem with that at the high school level, yeah.
Okay.
First of all, out of county, that just they need to go,
Yeah.
and it needs to state that. But I would also like to look at some of the issues on level 3s that we have, and whether that would, in your opinion, as a board, warrant removing an out-of-county student on certain infractions.
So I don't know, and forgive me for not knowing this, but it's been a long time since I've dealt with the code of conduct, but I don't know if a level 4 is automatically
That
right. So I can tell you, in my experience, we don't have that many schools rescinding school choice. Kids, when they're on choice, they're behaving. I think we had one this year, at the end of this year. But I understand your need to want language in there. I'm
Are
just,
you looking for something like multiple level 3s or something
For an
like that?
out-of-county, multiple,
Or just she's saying level 3 or 4.
they,
Level 3 or higher.
For out of county.
yeah,
Out of county, I would agree with level 3 or 4.
okay. Then,
Any level 3s?
Any level 3s. They're out of county. They
I
should
mean,
be.
I think it,
They're our
I think
test.
that,
Level 3 doesn't automatically expulsion, right?
Right,
Correct? No. So a level 3 could be something that's not,
yeah.
I won't want to say it's not major, but,
It could be
so,
a fight,
right, it could be something very,
but they're
but we have to discipline.
But they're
So,
yes, and then they don't live in our county. They're taking up space.
but it's
okay,
a level 3.
level 3, alcohol possession, use, burglary, bullying, drug use, possession, false accusation, fighting, gross insubordination, harassment, hazing, interference, or physical contact with school personnel, those kinds of things.
Okay. Level 3s, yeah. But,
Thank you.
but unfortunately, what if a kid says something stupid, another kid records it and then puts it out or puts it to Fortify and then the child, talking about a game or something, but then there's a whole thing, that's a level 3 offense.
It has to be founded or unfounded.
But is I would imagine.
Okay,
that
so level 3s are,
there's an
severe.
investigation
Yeah.
to the
Okay.
accusation, so
Okay.
that would negate what you're talking about, Michelle.
All right, then the other one that the paragraph underneath that,
Are we still on the same topic, or are you moving
yes,
to a different?
rescinding approved school choice.
The same
It's the-
level
it's the
3,
par-
are you
It's the
discussing?
paragraph that says the decision to
Yeah, go ahead.
rescind a school choice, okay? A high school student whose reassignment has been rescinded will return to his or her zone school at the end of the current semester. I believe that really should be at the end of the 9 weeks or the semester, whichever is coming first.
I agree with that.
Yeah, me too.
I agree with that.
Thank you. And then that would change. No, that's going to take care of that next page. Okay. I don't know what page this is on for y'all. This is continuity of school assignment.
Is that the heading?
Yes, that's the heading. It comes after preference for admission, change of residence.
it may be on your page 95, Ms. Hawkins.
I got rescinding, appeals, involvement,
Continuity of school assignment. Okay.
attendance.
What we've just discussed, and I think somewhat agreed on here, would take that last sentence, it needs to be reworded. The principal has the right to rescind approval due to poor attendance, grades, and/or behavior. I'm not sure we're leaving it up to the principals if a student has a level 3 or level 4, but the principal needs to initiate the process for removing the student from attending. Is that,
That's what's currently in practice.
okay, but can we get it in writing instead of just the right to rescind? Because it's really an obligation now on the principal to make sure that this happens.
So do you want language, the principal is obligated? The principal shall?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then rescinding of approved school choice. Which is page 96. Um, You may need to change the language in there because it's saying repeated violations of the student code of conduct, and we're changing it to level 4, level 3. You are going to be removed if you're out of county student.
So what letter are you on?
D,
Okay.
While you're looking at that, I wanted to piggyback off of what Mr. Johnson said a minute ago, that if they are here and they come here as a guest, basically, that when something happens like that, that they should have to no longer remain. So I do think that that's appropriate. And I think if they're here and it's an opportunity for them, that they should be doing what's right. And if they mess up, then no longer are they going to be able to stay.
I agree.
I think on letter D, what I'm looking for is maybe some, it says repeated violations of the student code of conduct. Maybe some
I don't think that-
more clear language on,
I don't think so. Because if we're saying with a 3 or 4, they're gone.
but that's out of county.
That's out of county. This is in county.
This is, if I'm here in county now.
I don't get 96 pages on here, so I don't know what it's hard to follow. All I have is a 4-page document, 5-page document. So to go into something I don't have,
1, 2, 3, on 3. Should start circumstances through the school choice at the very top. So it's like page 3 probably on your,
rescinding of school choice preferences.
rescinding of approved school choice, yep. She's looking at
Approved.
D.
I don't have, okay, I got that now, okay.
Okay,
What letter?
D.
D.
And these are in school. These are kids that may live in Hernando Beach and want to go to
Got
Wikiwachi
it.
High.
So you don't like the word repeated violation of the student code of conduct, Ms. Duvall?
I think,
Because I would hate for it to just say a violation of the student code of conduct, because then it could be
right,
one small
I'm
thing.
not looking for that because that's not appropriate either, but I think if you flip it over to the parent side and now your student is going to potentially be removed, you would look at that and you would ask the administrator, well, define repeated. What makes it? Why can you do this? And I think that's where it comes from, is having that experience of being questioned about, well, what does that really mean?
Well, how
So
about
And
multiple
applying it-
multiple violations of,
any?
Yes.
Can
Eddie,
I ask
to be
a
the word.
question or get clarification? When multiple violate, what if it's a level 4 offense? Should that, it would be automatic? Right, so maybe you sort of put that into the sentence.
So it would say multiple violations,
Of
level
level 1
3 or
through
4, automatic,
Yeah.
gone.
3 and 4 is automatic.
no, 3 and 4 is automatic, so it would be multiple violations of
Violations.
levels
Level
1
1,
through
2.
Level 1,
But,
1 and
yeah.
2.
1 through 2, automatic.
Automatic with 3 and 4.
Can you rephrase that then in the language?
So under letter D, you want me to strike out repeated and put in multiple violations?
Of level 1 and 2 of the student code of conduct. And da-da-da. Okay, period. Then level 3, level 4 violations require automatic.
Automatic for in-county? 3 or 4s? Multiple 3 or 4s? Okay,
A single violation.
okay.
I believe that's all I have right now.
So students committing level 3 or 4 automatically rescind?
Yes. This is a privilege
That's right.
for them to partake in this, and if they're not going to behave themselves, the privilege is withdrawn.
Yeah, because if the situation is mitigated, it would stay a level 3 or 4, right?
I mean, the 3 and 4 are all terrible. I just think that some are more severe on 3 than, I mean, they're all pretty bad. Like profanity directed toward a staff member. I mean, that's pretty bad, and it is a privilege to be in our schools, but theft is worse. So maybe you're having a really bad day and you say something that you really shouldn't, but now you get kicked out of the school for that one time doing it.
That's why it says repeated.
Not 3 and
Not
4.
level 3 and
Not 3 and 4.
Not 3 and 4, no. Well,
But also in 3 is drug use. So that's appropriate to be, I feel like that's appropriate to be.
but then it can be mitigated.
But
by-
then bullying too is in that, which is also terrible. But the first offense of bullying, but
has to be-
multiple, it's usually,
There's an investigation.
there's an investigation with that.
Has to be founded.
A verbal altercation. Alcohol, that might be under 2. Let me see, hold on.
Wearing leggings.
I'm just looking at 3. I just don't want to make it so.
I don't know that everything we have listed in 3 should be lumped together. I think there's 1 or 2 that,
That's what I'm worried about. Like, if we say, if you do one offense of 3, you're automatically kicked out of your school choice.
like what.
Some are a little bit more.
What came to my mind was a verbal word.
There is a process in place for an appeal.
But I just,
Parent can appeal.
Like
Ms.
false
Cropley.
accusation. I mean,
Ms. Cropley's joined us. What do you want to say, Ms.
Ms.
Cropley?
Cropley, want to chime in? Thank you.
Okay, so in letter D, it can be any and all of those things. So typically, you're going to not kick a student out of your school on school choice if just one of those things are happening. You're going to watch for those patterns. So are they excessively absent? Are they failing? Those are 2 things. Are they excessively absent? Do they have a lot of disciplines? Do they meet all of those things? Are they failing? They have a lot of disciplines. They're excessively absent. We have a procedure up and we go over it with principals each year. If you're going to rescind a school choice, you need to make sure that we've had parent conferences, we've had warnings. They're still your student. So you're going to have to put interventions in place, things like that. A level 4 violation of the code of conduct in any circumstance is going to recommend you for expulsion. It doesn't matter. So you're not getting your school choice anyway. You're not getting a choice, right? You might be at Endeavor. But any of, most of them will have like a file. Right from the beginning of the year, we encourage the administrators to put like a little sticker on the discipline files of those kids that are there on school choice. They can pull lists to say these kids are here on school choice. So when they're processing disciplines, we encourage them to write on the discipline, if behavior continues, you may lose your school choice seat.
So how do you feel about, though, putting it in here that if it's a level, like if you have one offense of a level 3, that you're automatically kicked out? Do you think what we have in place?
I think
This
what
is
we have in
sufficient?
place works. I feel like we follow the process. We have had some appeals. We get with the schools. We make sure that they send all of their documentation. Have you had parent conferences? Have you tried to intervene? Just like you would if the kid was zoned at your school. That's what we expect. I feel like in the competitive market that we're in right now, to take that choice away for one level 3. Now, if it's egregious and that's, we have those conversations, like we're revoking your school choice. But that hasn't necessarily been the case. Typically, when we're revoking, it meets multiple of these. It's not just you got 2 level 3s and now we're revoking it.
So why couldn't we add just simply a violation of a level 3 offense? You may be returned to the zone school. It's a little ambiguous, but if it's drug use and it's a level 3, that would be up to the principal.
Drug use is a 3, I think distributions of 4.
Right.
I think,
Ms. Duval? I feel,
I-
yeah, go ahead.
I will agree with Mark. I do believe that there has been issues with choice and magnet. And a student should not, and a parent should not rely on having a problem with attendance, grades, and discipline in order to finally be removed out of a school. This is, and I especially go after the behaviors. The academic requirements, that's pretty cut and dry. You either doing what you need to do or you don't. But to give students who are gaining a seat in a school, maybe even keeping a waitlist kid out of the process and who misbehaves, that's an issue for me, especially. And that requires, to me, action. And it also requires that we as a board define what that action, what the action is and what the consequence is. So it's very clear to parents and students that if you do this, this is the consequence.
and we've gotten away from consequences.
Yes, we have.
And we need to get back to that and back to meritocracy.
So that's where I'm coming from on this is, yes, I'm looking at more the behavior issues that may occur than the attendance or the grades. Those, to me, are a little bit easier to work with, and yes, I would expect the staff probably works with all of their kids, not just someone who's there on choice to
So-
improve. But behaviors, no.
So maybe add may be removed if a level 3 and will be removed for a level 4 on D.
So the way I read this, all of those things may be rescinded.
No,
So
level 4 will
it has been the administrator's discretion as far as rescinding based on any of these instances.
All right, Mr. Myers.
No, I was going to, but there's still the right of appeal.
Right, there is
So-
an appeal.
So you're trying to specify what leads to a possible removal, understanding or notwithstanding the fact there's still the right of appeal. So whether it's a level 3 offense or a level 4 offense, the parents still have the right to appeal the decision. And that's going to
maybe.
stay in there.
Not a level 4, and maybe that needs to be clarified. Definitely level 4 is an
Well, they're gonna
automatic,
be
but that's an
expelled at
automatic
level 4.
wherever.
They're going to be recommended for
Recommended.
expulsion,
But, right, so that still has to be.
Right,
but they will have their,
whether you're in county or out.
comes to that.
Okay.
So Casey, yes, I think,
So we want to do may be removed with a level 3 and will be removed with the level 4,
So
is what
after
she's
you have,
saying.
will be
Right.
returned to the zone district, and I guess a comma.
And then
can
out of
be
school is 3 or
removed
4.
right.
For a level 3 offense.
Out of county is 3 or 4 removed.
Gone.
Okay.
All right.
And we're saying the principal shall or the principal may?
Shall.
May for level 3, shall for level 4.
Again,
May for
level
level
4,
3.
regardless of whether
Will,
you're in
right.
county or out of county, you're going to be recommended for pre-expulsion.
May.
So
I mean,
typically, a lot of times in that process, even if they're out of school of choice and they're recommended for pre-expulsion, for the most part, unless it's one of those major ones where we have to have them out for a year, they go to Endeavor. And part of that is, once you're done, once you complete Endeavor, you're going back to your zone school. You don't have the privilege of going back to the school of choice that you came from.
okay.
So I guess without getting too wordy in the manual, we can go through that. But I feel like principals need to have a little bit of discretion as far as
Because they know their kids the
they
best.
know the students and
Yeah.
they know what they're putting in place for those students. And
It says the
sometimes,
principal designee will contact the supervisor of school choice about the possibility of school choice approval being rescinded. So it tells you right there that the principal makes the final decision, so there's no argument.
yeah. And they'll send Dawn all their documentation. And as long as they've had, meetings, and it comes down to even attendance. Sometimes kids have atrocious attendance and they're there on school choice, and maybe it's best for them to go back to their zone school because we don't offer transportation with school choice, right? So maybe it's best for them to go back to their zone school so that they can use transportation and get to school on time. So that comes out at truancy meetings that we have. We talk about you're there on school choice and they're having a problem getting to school. Maybe that's one of the interventions that's put in place. They go back to their zone school where they can use a bus to get to school.
All right, Superintendent Pender.
So I just want to circle back, may or shall, because I don't think I heard a shall and I heard some mays. So even if it's may, then the principal still has the final discretion. But if it's shall, then there really isn't any discretion.
The process
For
will
threes.
move forward
Yes.
with the process in place and an appeal process in place.
So I just,
It takes some of the stress off the principal.
yeah, I mean, I'm just looking for consensus so you know what word to put there.
Read it again. Read it again to me. The way we're going to word it, and then I can tell you if I feel like may or shall. I feel like it should say may.
Going up here, if you look at the very top where it says rescinding approved school choice, approval of school choice application may be rescinded if. And then you have A, B, C, D, and E.
So
That's where it's
under that language, if it was repeated level ones, it may be.
Right.
10 level ones?
I said
Well-
10 of them.
Just
What if it's
repeated.
10 of them? Then it may be after 10 of them?
Do you
Gee,
have,
That's what I'm questioning.
all right, Mr. Myers.
No, I mean, just what you read about may be rescinded, just say except for level 4, it's not, it shall, it's mandatory. But for the others, it
May.
still may be. I mean, that sort of captures it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're
So
laughing.
for E,
I'm laughing.
E is out of county. E is.
He is out of
any-
county and shall. Level 3 and 4 shall, yes.
Out of county.
Out of county, 3 and 4, decision to rescind. Elementary, middle school.
D is level 3 may and level 4 shall.
For out of county? No.
That was for regular.
Okay.
Is that for in-county?
I think Ms. Cropley has it.
yeah.
Okay.
So level 3 is may anyway, but level 4 will
Is
just
always-
clarify that it
It
will
will be.
happen, because it will happen regardless of your school choice or not, so.
Perfect. All right, any further questions or discussion? Ms. Duval, your light's still on. Do you have extra? I don't think she's finished, sorry.
I would just, with the word may, I would just hope there's some consistency, because I have known that there has been inconsistency. And that word shall removes that from the plate. But if that's what y'all want, that's, I go with it.
Well, could say may for a level 3 on the first offense and shall on subsequent offenses. So if you have somebody who has a level 3, maybe yes, maybe no. They do the same behavior or different behavior twice, gone.
Say shall for multiple level 3 offenses.
Shall for multiple level 3.
We also have the quarter, so we're revoking at the quarter for K through 8 and semester for high school. So
No, I suggested 9 weeks at high school.
across the board, 9 weeks.
She changed
Yep.
that.
What you have. Okay.
And Mark, I do agree with that language. I think that covers my concerns.
Say that again, Mr. Johnson.
That shall for multiple 3 offenses,
Shall for multiple.
and shall for
Just
one,
four, like we-
one, level 4 offense.
Shall up to level 3. May, up to,
I think we got it.
okay.
I'll wait for the
Okay.
next one now.
All right. And her light turned off, so I think she's finished. I'm just kidding. Just teasing.
Okay.
All right.
So at this time, if there are any other questions, I would ordinarily say, I would ask for tentative approval. Now, would you like me to make these corrections and bring it back to you in another workshop?
No, you don't.
You know,
No, not another
If we
workshop.
make the tentative changes, then we can just put it on a board agenda.
board agenda.
Yeah, put it on the board
And
agenda.
if you have issues with it, then you can pull it.
Okay. Does that answer your question? Okay,
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now we will move on to item number 3, 27-4023, review and tentative approval of the 2027-2028 magnet program procedures by Ms. Williams, Supervisor of School Choice. Welcome back. Thank you, Ms. Cropley.
Good afternoon again. Thank you. I'm going to go over now the outline revisions for the 27-28 magnet program procedures. So I think I went ahead. So number 1, all of the dates in the 27-28 magnet program procedures were changed to reflect the 26-27 school year. On page 1, Dynamic Sports Performance Academy, School Mint was added to and at the designated location was deleted from the application procedures. On page 2, Dynamic Sports Performance Academy and School Mint were added to number 5. And then on page 5, Dynamic Sports Performance Academy was added to letter C. And under D, 1 changed may to must and added School Mint portfolio upload. Under 2, added language about portfolio submission for Dynamic Sports Performance Academy. So all of that language that was added is in relation to Dynamic Sports Academy.
Okay. I have a few things. Are you finished? Okay, go
I
ahead.
have, and on page 7, letter G, specified that portfolio applicants not selected for Chocochatty and Challenger K-8 will automatically be placed in the lottery. And then under C, I added Dynamic Sports Performance Academy. On page 8, under 4, regarding hardship exemptions, added that the only way into Dynamic Sports Performance Academy is through portfolio, as it is for all of our other magnets. And then on page 9, added Dynamic Sports Performance Academy, change Challenger portfolio submission to electronic submission using Google Share to upload portfolio to Schoolmint. So Chocochatty currently does electronic collection of portfolios. Dynamic Sports Academy has chosen to do that, and Challenger expressed an interest this year to collect those portfolios online as well.
I got a question. What's the difference between this and what they wanted to do at Parrott Middle School, turning that into a sports academy? That is Parrott?
Yeah, this is Parrot. Yeah.
I thought it said Challenger.
I just updated language around Challenger in there in that same area.
Does it add, does it allow them to do attachments of the student work in the portfolio with the electronic version? This is just for mine.
Yeah, they upload, it's like a Google, you just
Upload and
save
attach.
things, save your artifacts to your Google Drive.
Awesome.
And then you make that Google Drive public, you share it with us, and then we have your portfolio.
Love that. Thank you. All right,
What are
was
we
that
go-
all of your updates?
Are we going to entertain sibling preference?
I have that on my thing to speak about.
Those are all my revisions.
Okay, so does Deval want, I have something. Do you want to go first, though? Want me to go first? All right, I think we all have something. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry my pages don't match up. Under the heading Continuity of a Magnet Program Enrollment, it's right towards the front of the document. Number 1. It's the enrollment at a school. Got that? Okay. The last sentence,
Yeah.
a student whose reassignment has been rescinded by the principal will return to his or her zone school the following year. And I'm not sure why we're allowing that to happen as opposed to
I agree.
9 weeks or the semester.
I think 9 weeks, if we have 9 weeks in the magnet, right? Or in the.
Choice.
Yeah,
Right.
that should be in the following 9 weeks. not
So I
year.
think that was put into place because the enrollment is tied for enrollment purposes.
But that could open a spot for a new kid to come in
That's true.
Yep.
So we should change
who's on a
that.
waiting list, who
We
is
should
doing the
change
right
that to
thing.
9 weeks. The following 9 week.
Yep.
Period.
Thank you.
Should we use may or shall? I'm just kidding.
Do that again.
Sorry.
So I'm going to add at the end of the 9 weeks, at the end of,
The 9 weeks or the semester, whichever
Comes first.
comes first.
The next 9 weeks or end of the year. Or end of the semester, right?
Yes. The next question, I'm not sure exactly where it fits in, but I wonder about level 3s and 4s. If y'all know what page that's on, I would appreciate it.
so it's not on this page in the manual. The manual refers them back to the controlled choice because that's the umbrella for all school choice options.
So it would be covered the level 3 and 4
Right.
then.
Correct. So then they would go back into the controlled choice and look at the language there.
Should we have it here, though? So they don't have to go back and look at something else to know what the consequence is?
We can.
Sure, I can add it.
Thank you.
Well, you have under 4, will be terminated false information, parent or guardian fails provide residency certification. And C, a student withdraws from the school.
Make a D.
Yeah, you can make a D and just reinstate the controlled choice paragraph that covers 3s and 4s. And that'll keep it consistent.
Now, you did say that this was going to be a lottery, no, portfolio for Parrot,
It's portfolio and the lottery.
both.
Correct, just like Challenger and Chochatty.
All right, then we get down, I guess, to the crux of my concern with this, with Parrot. And I apologize, I was not in on the original discussion on this
A lot of
change, but I do disagree with making or allowing, whatever you want to call it, a dynamic sports performance academy at Parrot. And I do that because I don't see the issue. I've gone back and looked through attendance and enrollment. I don't see the issues there. that might be something that y'all considered. But I look at it as you've got a school who wants to pull students from other schools, but it appears primarily that it's designed to pull students, or could pull students, from East Side. And I have a concern with that, because now you're taking a school that has the athletic facilities, which creates the draw to pull kids out of the East Side when they don't have, at this point, the gym, the fields. They have a plan for that, but we haven't agreed to do any of that. So now it's an inequality that I have a problem with.
Well, Susan, the presentation was for 60 students. It wasn't for more than that. So I don't think we're going to pull that many from the east side by itself. They're going to come from all over. And if the program develops, we should be putting out quality athletes over in a few years.
And where are those kids going to go? That's the other part of the
They
problem.
they go to the high schools that they would go to.
No, that's what's not going to happen.
Well, what's
I
going to
don't
happen?
believe it, Mark. That's the
I
problem.
think he's also trying to pull from Citrus County and some other counties, and I think he could also argue that he feels like East Side took some of, not that they're all our kids, but you could maybe argue the same thing, that some of his kids are at East Side, they're not coming to him,
But
so he's trying to fill that
because
gap.
Because of where the enrollment zone is, that's
Right.
all. It's not,
Yeah.
East Side is not putting something out there that Parrott doesn't have in sense of athletic facilities.
Well, and we haven't voted on doing it. This is just in case, because he's collecting data and he's going to bring it back in front of the board. And then at that time, we decide, I think they said October. So he's going to, so this is just in case.
Because
There's a cost involved in it.
Because I also have a hard time at this moment with any of this because of the cost and financially where we are, and with our teacher pay, with the insurance, with all the above and everything else happening financially. So for me, I cannot sit up here and be fiscally responsible to say yes to something to $1 million or more at this very moment.
Well, we're not voting on that tonight.
I know that, Mark.
No, but it's,
I know, but let me speak. Without uncertainty of how this is going to happen financially. So for me, I have to be fiscally responsible. That's my number one goal. And I have to look at everything across the table. When it comes to also 60 students coming in, let's say we're doing this for retention. We're doing this in order to fill seats. So that's the problem. The reason this all started was to fill seats. So when that happens and we get them, but yet we've still lost seats or we're losing seats, is one just counter offering the other? Are we just trading? And at what point, if we're trading, where is the money that we're spending to make this happen? So really at this moment, would we be ahead or would we be behind? Because it's going to cost, like you said, Mrs. Duval, quite a bit of money for this program. And even to get it up and running, even if we go as minimal as we possibly can, we're still going to have to continue as we go throwing money into this. And then coaches. So we have our coaches at school, and they've been there 30 years, a lot of them. We've had them a long time. And then we're bringing more staff on, more coaches for these specialized students in order to make this program robust and make it stand out, because it's not going to be like every other school. It's not going to be a Weeki-Wachi High. It's not going to be what we're saying Parrott's going to be. I understand it's a middle school, but Parrott's going to be elite. It's going to be sports that no one else has. So if these programs are going to be that qualified and these parents are going to be bringing their kids and stopping wherever they are with any programs already in, because they're bringing them here for those qualified sports, they're going to expect qualified coaches, not your regular coach, not a PE coach. So are we going to be double doing when it comes to salaries? I'm not okay with that either. So there's a whole lot of this that to make me convinced to say yes to something, I need to know that we are going to be watching our money. We are going to be fiscally responsible. We're not going to be throwing good money to bad, and it's going to work out. So I will never vote yes to something for that kind of money on a what if. So we would, for me, there's a lot of questions that would have to be answered, and I would need to be convinced more than I am, and I have a lot more to say on this. Today's not the moment of why I feel the way I feel, and we can dissect it thoroughly. But Mrs. Duval, you're right. We have to be very cautious moving forward on this, because I love the idea that they're wanting to do something different. I love their gumption, but it also has to have some proven substance behind it.
And I think that's what he's working on, and he's going to bring back to the workshop, and we can discuss at that time. Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I don't see this, I like the idea, this is thinking in the future when it happens, that the program will be there, it'll be established. It's not costing us anything to have this in the manual, just so it's memorialized. We all, what are there, 900 homes being built in the city of Brooksville? And if we're still at 0.3 students, that's 270, so that's 90 more students. There'll be in middle school if it's 1/3 each. So, I mean, we are not going to be lacking for seats. There's 29,000 homes that are slated to be built in this county in the next 5 to 10 years. That could bring in a potential 8,700 new students. To have something that may be beneficial in the future, even if we don't activate it, at least we set the groundwork and we have a framework that's established, and I think that would be a good idea. I agree with Mrs. Rodriguez. We don't have the money to spend on buying the equipment or getting the coaches at this time. Things may change next year or the year after, but if we're in a position where things are there to go forward, then we're looking to the future and we're not living in the past. The same thing, I like the Leadership Academy and the Innovation Academy, where we're giving those kids the skills they need to get jobs in the aerospace industry. Do we have the teachers for that? No, we don't even know what those jobs are going to be yet. We don't know what skill sets they need. There's no CTEs that are approved for that as of yet. So I agree with being forward thinking. I also agree we should not be spending money on it. But if we're putting it into a manual, it's setting the foundation, the groundwork for the future, and that's all we're doing.
Gives the option, right? Mr. Bell, you had more to add?
Could I just add?
I don't think it needs to go in the manual at this time.
I believe it has to.
It has to if it's approved. So I would like to
If
add.
it's approved.
Well,
I agree
no,
with Mrs.
deadline,
Duval.
no.
if
There's
I
a
could just add a little caveat in here, subject to board approval regarding Dynamic Sports Academy.
I don't like it. I feel like that's moving forward without saying we're moving forward. For me, I don't like to put something in that's not happening yet, and that we've not agreed upon, and that we haven't looked at all the.
Right. Superintendent Pender, sorry.
So I think what you're saying is that it needs to be, if we have a chance of it moving forward next year, it has to be in there for that.
Yes,
process.
I understand that.
That's correct.
But it doesn't have to be next year that we're even looking
Right.
at this.
Yes, that is true.
So it doesn't have to be there. We're
I think
not
it's false
required.
hope. I don't think it's right. I don't think until a board makes a decision, I don't think we should be putting it in there, because that does tell our constituents and everybody else watching that they already think, well, they're already going to do it. To me, no. I'm telling you, in my opinion, I don't think that there needs to be a reason at this moment that to go in there until we know what we're doing with this program.
Wait, Superintendent Pender.
So if that happens, then this would not be able to take place. If it's not in there now, we would either have to bring it back after whatever decision's made in October when we bring that back, yes or no. We would have to bring this back, but by that time,
This
would
whole
there
thing
still
would
be in
delayed
time?
a year.
It would just be delayed. It would be delayed a year.
Okay, that's the bottom line.
So if we don't put it in this, it'll be delayed a year.
Correct.
So why have that option? Why not just take it out? Because why run the risk of delaying it another year if we may approve it? I mean, we told him to go forward and get the data and come back.
Where are you getting the money? I don't understand. We've just came out of a meeting. I don't know where you think we have the money for it to happen anytime this year anyway. So at the end of the day, I'm a realist, and I know and I see the money, and I'm not certain where we are doing this. Not to mention, we have coaches at that school. Those coaches have been with us for 30 plus years. Those coaches are not going anywhere, nor should they ever. And at this moment, to add extra coaches with specialized requirements of what they need to be, that's double paying. If that's the case, no. I want to give that money to our teachers. Our teachers need more money. So no, I'm not okay with all of this right now. I think this is premature. I think that we're talking about something that we don't even have data for to support it. You can't even come, not you, but whoever cannot even come before me with a good argument to sell me on it. And until then, I don't think we should be doing this. I don't see where we have the money unless you guys know something I don't know.
I know he's doing a pilot right now with students, and then he also collected data, and he had over 100 people respond that they are interested.
Yeah,
That's the
but
information
they're-
I have. I understand.
But they're
Go ahead.
interested. It is an elite program based on athletics, based on the fact that we've got a school in the same zone that doesn't have the same capabilities. So it is a recruitment tool, not only to Eastside, but to every other
Based on
school
the
we
fact
have.
that we need a track redone at Central High School, based on the fact that our other schools on our sports need addressed. We have a lot of things that we can do on our other schools right now that we have just sat aside and we have not done because of Mr. Pender finances. So at this moment, we do not even have a track. Go look at Central High School's track and then come back and tell me that we have money to play with this. And I'm not trying to sound negative at all. And I know that you guys are listening at Parrott, and I support each and every one of you. I will do anything and get behind any teacher, any principal, anybody in the school district if I know that it's going to be beneficial. And by all means, financially, that we're capable of pulling it off. But at this moment, we're not. At this moment, we have other schools that still need things. We have kids playing volleyball over in a development at a home with homes around, and the people are calling in constantly on the children because they don't want the noise. They don't want the kids there. It's just, we have a lot of things happening. That's one small thing. I get it. But there's a million more I can sit here and tell you. We need to stop and realize with our sports, with our schools, where we're at, what we need to do to clean up the schools that we currently have, what we need to do to update and to fix us to where we need to be, and then we can move forward. But right now, financially, this is not a place that we have any business trying to put money into.
I don't disagree with you on a lot of that. However, in his presentation, he did show if we are able to capture so many students, you will receive this much money, and the program itself will be paid for through capturing those students. I think it's worth having him come back and presenting and discussing
How do you
that.
capture money when you're losing students at other schools?
He's talking about gaining students
Oh,
from
Citrus.
Citrus and the new developments coming in.
Yeah, talk is cheap too. And at the end of the day, we could talk about a lot of things right here, and we can make a lot of decisions at this moment all on talk. I'm not going to sit here and discuss on talk, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Please don't take it that way. But understand that the five of us have a responsibility to watch out for our schools, all of our sports, everything that's happening on our campuses that we've not maintained, everything that's in ruins. When it comes to that, if you really want to sit here and put out our dirty laundry, we can, and we have a lot we could discuss. And it's up to y'all if you want to. I'll go there. And then the next thing is we have to consider these teachers. We have to consider all these coaches. And like I said, I'm not going to keep repeating it.
We're not paying for coaches this year.
But at
He's not right.
But at the end of the day, at this moment, this should not be going on. That's all.
Well, then we shouldn't have probably told him to do the trial in the first place and then
And we
said that
shouldn't
we were
have
going to do this.
changed-
This
He can
doesn't
do the
cost
trial.
us
We don't
money
need to
to
change
try.
this
Show us.
manual either.
There's nothing wrong with having a vision board. You have to have, Mrs. Hawkins, a vision board before you can move forward. You have to have something on the table, and you have to be able to see if it's going to work. It's called a vision board. That would be like saying we want to build a new house, but we're not going to have a vision board beforehand and make decisions. We're just going to do it. No point in even thinking about the vision because we can't get the house yet today. Well, how do you end up with the house? You have a vision board, and this is all great.
And how do you end up having a program like this? You have to be proactive and get your paperwork and stuff on time. So it doesn't hurt to have the paperwork in place and then take it off if we all decide at the workshop that we're not going to move forward with it. But you can't backtrack and try to submit this at a later date when it's October, November.
And you're
It
putting
doesn't hurt to move forward with it. It's not costing us at the moment any money to at least have the right things in place and be proactive, in my opinion.
And I agree.
Ms. Duval?
If he was going to pull, or whoever's at Parrott, was only going to pull from Citrus County, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But when they're pulling kids from our other schools based on an inequity of programs, I do have a problem with this. This becomes an athletic recruiting tool. And I've dealt with that for years, and I've never appreciated the fact that that could happen again here. And that's what it is. It is recruiting kids. The majority will come, unless I'm told in his data search that there's 60 kids coming from Citrus County. I'm not in favor of pulling kids from other schools.
What about from
Parrot.
Chocochatty
And this is putting the
or
cart,
Challenger?
once again, though, this is putting the cart before the horse. When we need to do it, and if it turns out to be beneficial, then we can do it. But to do something like this premature and put it up here, that's false hope. That's also, that's an expectation you're putting on there that it's a done deal. So to me, I don't think that that's right. Once again, like I said, it's putting the cart before the horse, and I don't agree with that.
Superintendent Pender, what do you?
Well, let's
What do you
call
wanna
we'll put the
chime?
question to a vote for consensus.
So I just wanted to clarify that the money, because that was taught, so the money would come for this, some would come out of general fund and some would come out of capital for the project, just
Yeah,
for
well, take your
clarification.
general fund money and put it on towards the teachers.
Okay. So do we want to take a vote really quick on if we want to even move this forward in the manual, or if we want her to take it out? If we don't move it forward, they won't be able to start this next year. Even if we decide to approve it, it would have to be the following
Let's take a
year
vote on it.
if we did that. Do you have one more thing to say?
Well, I think we would just
It can be
have
added.
consensus.
You can
Not a
add
vote.
this.
You can't really vote, but you can talk,
You
try to reach
consensus, right.
consensus or otherwise.
And you can add this later.
She's saying there's a deadline, right? Please clarify that.
Yes, so the application in Schoolman's going to open up on October 13th. So we'd like to get these manuals, the magnet manual.
So by October
published
13th.
prior to that.
And you
My concern
it could be
is
added.
putting this in here implies that it's probably going to take place.
That's right.
And that's an implication that I don't
And that's-
think is appropriate at this time.
And that's not conducting
So
If it
business.
let's
delays it
take a vote
year,
on it.
So
That's-
be it.
All right.
That's not
Let's take
conducting
a vote on it,
business
see
as
if
a
there's
board member
consensus.
appropriately.
Okay. So, Mr. Johnson, how do you feel?
I'm in favor.
Okay. Ms. Rodriguez?
No.
Okay. I'm in favor.
Leave it off.
Okay.
Off.
Okay. So then we're going to take it off.
So you're going to take all the reference out to the Dynamic Sports Performance Academy.
That's correct.
Okay.
I will strike all of that.
Okay. And then, are you finished with your spiel? Do you have anything else on that? Yes, Ms. Duval, because I'm ready to go on to something else.
I will say this. If and when it's time and everything is handled appropriately and all the money's there and it's not going to impact the district and it's not going to impact our coaches and it's not going to affect us and our other schools are also maintained and taken care of, by all means, I like the idea. I think the program wouldn't be a bad thing. But once again, you have to fill your refrigerator full of groceries first before you can buy the cake and the ice cream. So then I would be in favor of something. I do not think that it's a bad thing. I like the idea, but I'm not at this moment in favor of moving forward to something that we cannot prove where we're getting the funds, the students, all of the cost that it would take for the district to make this happen. So that's why I say no.
The other option is to try to bring him back here for a workshop before your October 13 meeting. And then, or before you want to get this published by October 13th, that would be your other option to bring him here.
No, we just.
Oh, I know. I'm
we
just
said-
saying, but that would be the other,
Yeah.
the
No,
other thing.
I would say that's not an option.
Okay. So just take it off.
Okay, so I'm just taking all of the Dynamic Sports Academy language out of the proposed manual.
Mhm.
Got it. Any other questions or concerns?
I do.
Yeah, I do. We need a
Yeah.
we need a swimming pool too, and that's a real need. So if we're going to do that, then we need to look at a pool. I'd like that pool at Weeki Wachee High School, please.
Wait a minute.
Does that have to do with school choice?
We need a gym and a field.
Oh, we have lots. We have
And
a whole athletic facility. I get it.
Athletic facilities at Eastside, please.
So
All right. So I have
if
more
they're
though.
requesting, I'm requesting. So let's figure this all out.
All right. Getting off of Dynamic Sports Academy.
Can we do magnet stuff
Thank
now?
you. I want to do magnet.
Okay.
Yes, I have to chime in on that. I know last year I brought it before the board, the sibling preference, and I'm hoping that you guys can meet me in the middle, although it's not starting off very great. But I don't have hope. No, I have hope. I've kind of tried to make it meet me in the middle here. So I would like to amend it where the current magnet school admission process is to provide sibling preference for eligible students who have a sibling currently attending the same magnet school. Sibling preference would not guarantee the admission or override the program's eligibility or class size requirements. Eligible siblings would receive priority within the existing lottery. That would place them on the top of the lottery list. So, for example, if my brother goes to school at Challenger or Chocochatty and his sister wants to go, they would apply do the portfolio, and if they didn't get in, they would automatically get placed at the top of the lottery list before you do your lottery selection. So they would have preference on the lottery list to be selected. It doesn't guarantee them a seat, but it gives them preference on top of your lottery list. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So what I have on the screen is I pulled the multiples preference language from the procedures manual.
Okay.
So, because we do give multiple, the multiples preference, I'm sorry.
I want to talk
Kinda long
about that
reading.
one too.
The multiples preference language is from the magnet program. So what happens with multiples right now, if one multiple gets in on the lottery or say portfolio and the other multiple doesn't, they go up to the top of the waiting list under military, right?
I know, but
That's what's-
sometimes they still don't get in, even doing that.
Okay,
So I would, with that, that's a whole nother section that I wanted
Okay.
to talk about. But with our twins and multiples, I would like to see where when they enter, like it's a family package. So if I'm submitting a portfolio, I'm submitting one portfolio for my two children, say they're twins, and if that portfolio is selected, then both get in. If not, then they go to the wait list, but it's still one number on the wait list. They don't have to be top of the list. They just go to the wait list like anybody else. Instead of it having two submissions, it's one.
So,
Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but if part of admission to the magnet is do they meet the magnet criteria, like for Chocochatty, a painter, a dancer, a singer.
Yeah, because there could be different, but it offers them two opportunities to get in. If you did if both of them automatically got in, if one got in, then that would be two submissions, two opportunities for them to both get in. That's why I was thinking more of the one submission for both kids. Because if you're going to let them both in anyways, you might as well.
Well, we're not letting them both in necessarily anyways right now.
But
They
we
go to
should.
the top of the wait
I think we should. I think it's silly to have
Okay.
one twin there and one twin not.
So Palm Beach County has one of the clearest approaches. For the 26-27 choice lottery, a student can receive sibling preference when a sibling is already in.
Wait, what, choice or magnet?
This is magnet.
Yeah.
She said choice.
Okay, because they had it worded. Okay, so magnet. When a sibling's already enrolled in the program, then they are going to return the following year, the applicant must list that school program as the first. The existing student cannot be in an exiting grade. So if that student's leaving, is that what you already?
That's language we currently have. It's
Right.
up on the screen.
Sibling preference can fill up to 50% of remaining elementary seats and 25, they can do 50% of the seats, or you can do 25%, depending on what percentage you think, after the other categories are all met. So you can pull a certain amount, certain percentage that you're going to give for siblings. I know in the past, we've had discussions on the sibling preference, and it was not overwhelmingly in favor, because I think that I did not, or a lot of us didn't want a process that would make admissions automatic, and this in turn would be shutting new families out. So being unfair to a child who doesn't already have a sibling there, I felt like that wouldn't be appropriate just to automatically give 5 or 6 siblings in a household automatic entrance into the school, and then the parent that has one child that's been waiting does not get in. That was my feelings before, and while that feeling still remains, I am willing on revisiting this as long as we can come up with a fair process. I would consider a policy where all the students must first meet the same magnet eligibility requirement. Sibling preference shouldn't mean that a sibling automatically receives a seat regardless of qualifications or capacity. And I think establishing an order such as eligibility requirements first, followed by sibling preference, and then the established lottery process. So
Agreed. The siblings should have to do the same process. Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, my thoughts the last time, and they still haven't changed, that we have 70% of the kids go in by lottery. If you reserve 20% of the vacant seats in kindergarten and first grade for a sibling preference, if that gets filled up, it's done. If it's not used, it can go back into the lottery system. And the only grades I can see that happening are children entering kindergarten or first grade. After that, then they would not get a sibling preference.
but you could,
If I may,
And that would stop a lot of these parents who go from school to school to school to school and then home and can't work in a situation where the economy is tough.
and you could cap the sibling preference.
At 20%.
so I just,
20%.
Say
of the open
25% of
seats.
available incoming seats. So
Right.
if 100 were available, no more than 25 would be filled through the sibling
Yeah,
preference.
you could do, Ms. Williams.
So just so you know, I did rush to this slide because we did just review this back in May. So this year, for example, in first grade, there were 0 seats offered for Challenger, and there were a couple for first grade. The majority of the seats that are offered in our magnet lotteries are kindergarten, 5th and 6th, and then 9th. So you could,
I'd say it's not
change the-
guaranteed.
Correct.
Right.
You could change the preference, but if there's no seats offered,
They're still not going to get in.
They're not gonna
right.
get in.
And
Right.
I think that's a lot of what the public doesn't understand necessarily is that there's just not a glut of seats. Once kids get in these schools, they're typically leaving.
leave.
Or they're staying.
stay
They're not
until it's
leaving.
time to
So,
Right.
and that's
Yeah.
why
Limited.
I would like it changed that way to state that you still have the preference. Like, we're looking at it, but there's no guarantee. It's due to what we have available.
Right.
Right.
Class size, school
So
capacity.
we're
So
not
up on the slide, I had the proposed language.
So we're not guaranteeing admission simply because you have a sibling. But we
Still
are,
have to go through the same
the
process.
board, we want to recognize the importance of keeping families together while protecting the majority of available seats for all qualified students. So at the end of the day, it's more about, I think Mrs. Hawkins, correct me if I'm wrong, parents who are having to go to 3 and 4 different schools for their children because they have one there and the rest other places. But back when we had this discussion, once again, I want to be fair to the parents who only have 1 or 2 kids opposed to a family that's got 5 or 6.
That's
So
why you limit the grade it can go in.
that's right. So I'm okay with revisiting this and trying to figure out something to be able to help all parties involved, but I also want to be fair throughout it. So
So the language I came up with is if you apply for children that already have a sibling attending the school applied to and they are not placed via lottery or portfolio, the siblings will be placed on the wait list immediately following children designated as multiples. However, if the sibling attending is an exiting 5th, 8th, or 12th grade student, the preference will not apply. And applications during the application period for each child are required in order to claim multiples preference. That should really be siblings preference.
I like,
I don't know if that encapsulates what you're looking
I-
for.
Shannon, what
I like
is,
limiting it to students going in kindergarten and first grade. Because now arbitrarily you get a kid going in and then he's got a younger brother or sister. As they get older, you got one kid in 3rd grade or 4th grade. And now you have a child who's school aged to go into kindergarten. That child should get a sibling preference, not an older brother or sister for a first grade who goes,
Well,
oh,
we could offer it to the other ones, but like she's saying, there's 9 times out of 10, there's not going to be a seat
Right, and if
regardless.
the idea is
Mainly
to
gonna be
lessen
kindergarten.
parent inconvenience and keeping the kids together, you would
and
want
also have
Shannon,
to offer
do you
all
have
those
a
grade
wording
levels.
for what you are
The
wanting? us to think
20%
about?
or whatever the
We could-
percentage
we could-
was.
we could do
20%.
it.
Can you read it to me again, please?
20% of the
See
lottery
where I had it.
is what I wanted to then return it to.
The only thing with the exiting 5th grade, 8th grade, and 12th grade, I know that's across the board for different magnet schools. I just don't want that to apply for
Challenger would have
Challenger.
to, it'd have to be more
would be
specific,
8.
yep.
Yeah, it would have to be more specific with that, right?
But if they're leaving 8th grade and they have one coming in,
They shouldn't get the preference.
that's right.
Right.
Because to me, it's no different than the family that has one kid. They're the same.
Correct. But I was saying in fifth grade, if they're at Challenger in their fifth grade, then they should get, I feel like they should get a preference.
All right, so here's a few others. Miami-Dade has another interesting model for siblings applying together. Its magnet policy allows siblings to be linked in the application, so they run together in random selection programs. If one linked sibling is selected, the linked siblings can be admitted, provided each child independently meets the eligibility requirements and applies to that magnet program.
That's exactly kind of what I was saying about the
Wanna hear
twins.
What was your first one?
Kind of.
Okay, now first one, let's go back to Palm Beach. I think that was, Palm Beach County has one of the clearest approaches. For its 26-27 lottery, a student can receive sibling preference when a sibling is already enrolled in that program and will be returning the following year. The applicant must list that school/program as the first choice. So this must be on choice, and that's choice. And the existing student cannot be in an exiting grade. Importantly, Palm Beach caps the impact. Sibling preference can fill up to 50%. Now they're working on choice too, so listen. Sibling preference can fill up to 50% of remaining elementary seats and 25% of remaining secondary seats after higher priority categories are handled.
What is it right now for the portfolio and the lottery? Maybe we can
70/30.
70,
I was going to
30.
say, could we do 60, 30, and 10?
Let me read one more.
60, 30,
Let me read
10.
one more to you.
10 for
Orange
sibling,
County
30
uses a
for-
more limited version.
And 60.
Its published magnet guidance provides sibling preference for elementary magnet applicants when the older sibling will return the following year. The younger sibling still has to meet the program's qualifying criteria. When demand exceeds available seats, eligible students are placed through the computer-generated lottery. That's what they do.
And Michelle? What I was thinking is the lottery is 70%. So you reserve 20% for sibling preference per grade. If it's not used, it goes back into the lottery.
So you go 50, 20,
Go back to the lottery, because our lottery fills, is,
Well, because you got to figure in a school, with all the teachers we have, we all
So I
have
think
to-
what you said, the Palm Beach you liked, because if our goal is to be family-friendly, but still fair to the families that are trying to get into the magnet for the first time, which is what I want to make sure that we do on both sides, that Palm Beach concept gives us the best starting point. They're going with eligibility first, sibling preference second, lottery for remaining seats. And then you could go one step further and cap the sibling preference, like we were talking, at 25% of available incoming seats.
And so that's what I originally was saying about having them at take the top of the lottery list, but I like the percentage better.
The
I
remaining
like the
75
30.
seats would remain available through like if we did 100 seats, the remaining 75 seats would remain available through the regular magnet lottery.
Right. Ms. Duval?
I don't know about the numbers, whether I agree with that yet.
Yeah, we have to think about it.
But the reason this came about years ago is because you had parents who were wanting to get their kids in, but there's no seats because the siblings were taking up all of the seats. So we have to be fair,
Well, that's what the percentages
To-
would do.
to
Yeah,
everybody.
that's why you have the percentages.
but that's why we find ourselves where we are today with it. And
Where we just cut it off.
yes, we just eliminated
So
it.
a portion of those seats is protected, is what we need to do if we're going to do this for new families. So the magnet remains accessible district-wide rather than gradually becoming dominated by sibling admissions.
All right, Superintendent
What
Pender?
happened with that is we changed the percentages. At one time, it was 50% or 60% by portfolio, and the rest was through lottery. And that's where the problems. Then we changed it, we reversed it. We gave 70% to lottery
Right.
and 30% to a portfolio. And since it's so high, like you say, whether you take it's 25% of those 70%, or if you take 20% of the total seats and reserve it for sibling preference, and if it's not used, it gets converted back to a
The
lottery.
Yep.
So the seats get filled. That's not a problem, but I prefer, I like the idea of limiting it to kindergarten and first grade. So you can't have a
Not-
kid
Just
all of a
don't
sudden-
limit it. That would be too much.
Well-
Superintendent Pender?
Well,
Am I not correct? It's going to be limited no matter what.
It's gonna be-
because
right,
We
there's
don't
not
have
enough
no
seats.
seats in
In third
anything
grade.
besides.
Fourth grade
kin
doesn't have them
first.
open because they just move up.
Right. And maybe middle school. We might start to have seats sixth grade come around if some of the kids are leaving from most don't. but if they do, Challenger, move, whatever, we may have a seat open. But other than that, those seats are always going to be limited. So I think if we do a percentage, if we're going to do this, we do a percentage, and you make it somewhat fair, and you do a 10% of siblings,
Somewhat fair. Fair.
fair, 10% of siblings, 60% of the lottery, and then you still have your 30% of your portfolio.
I like 20/40, just personally. 30, 20, 40.
Shall or may.
Right. Okay, Superintendent Pender.
If I just wait long enough, it comes up. So I was going to say that, I mean, if you do a percentage, I was going to say what you said, if you did a percentage, and I'm looking back here, Gina and Lisa, those seats are, if you did whatever the percentage is, 10%, let's say, that would be basically in kindergarten, maybe first grade, a little more, but after that, there's not many seats moving forward anyway.
It would be kindergarten, but first, let's think about this. If you do a 10% of our things, right, and it's 90.9% is our kindergarten kids, they would have a thing that say, we have a sibling that would put them to the top of the list, top of the lottery. Once that 10% is filled, that's it for siblings, and then we move on. End of story. We let some siblings in. We can't let every sibling in, and it still has to be fair. So,
Come first serve.
right, it's going to still be a lottery of those siblings. They're not guaranteed.
But 10%'s nothing. If I go to the store and something's 10% off, that doesn't
So,
make me
so
want.
we can do 20%. We can change it to
Well, that's what I had said.
60,
20,
20,
20%, 50%
whatever,
is
60,
still.
20, 30.
Well, portfolio is 30%.
Can I ask a
And the
question?
siblings 20 and 40's lottery.
Can I ask a question? Mrs. Michaelicka, Mrs. Cropley, would you
That's not
mind
100.
coming forward? I would like to hear from you.
Never mind. 50.
50, yes, thank you.
Sorry.
I was trying to tell you that before.
So I think that at kindergarten, if I remember right, they have 6 kindergarten allocations. I think it's 6 pretty
He's
much
doing the
all the
math.
way through. So 6 times 18 is 108, and 108 students, so 10% would be 10 or 11.
But it's 20%, it's 20 children throughout the district. That's
Okay.
reasonable. First come.
Welcome.
Right. Welcome. Thank you. Ms.
All right.
Cropley?
So was there a question, or are you?
Our
looking for
question
my
is, tell
opinion?
us what you think. Let's have a discussion.
Do you like the percentages?
So.
Do you
the-
like any of it?
The original intent of a magnet is to draw students with a particular area of interest or talent, and that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody in that family has that same interest or talent. We do know that our magnets weren't necessarily set up the way a magnet should have been set up in an area of the county that you're trying to draw people to. We have very successful magnets here, and I think that the intent of this board is to try to make it so that families can stay together and not be running all over the place. I feel like a few years ago, there was some movement when it came to multiples and putting language in the magnet procedures for multiples. We do have statutorily, we have to give the military first preference for that waiting list. And I would think, and Dawn worked on the language, kind of duplicating what the multiples language is for sibling preference. I think it's going to get a little muddy when you start limiting percentages, and then I just think about, from being a magnet principal, okay, this one withdrew. I have to try to call up the same thing. Were they lottery? Were they portfolio? Was it sibling preference? So if you are going to do it, I would say we follow the same procedures as what we have for multiples. If there's enough spots, they get in. If there's not, then they go on that portion of the waiting list, which is after military.
Being a former principal, from there, what would you say?
I would say, Dawn's right. Years ago, all of the spots were taken up by sibling preference.
That's why I like to have the percentage, though. I feel like it's not putting them at the top of the list. Still, no one's going to get in because you're going to take all your magnet, you're going to take all your lottery, and then they go to the top of the lottery list after it's selected. So they just sit there. So we're in the same position. It's changing absolutely nothing.
But that's why last time, when this came a few months ago. That's why I had said no, only because I do not want to be unfair to a child who does not already have a sibling there. And once again, like you said, we'll be in that position where the whole school is siblings, and if you have just one student and you've always wanted to see your student go there, and the chances of you ever getting there are slim to none, I think that's unfair too. So for me, I don't mind compromising. I don't mind helping families. I don't mind making it to where a mother or a father or a grandparent does not have to run to 3 different schools, but not at the expense of
So what?
the parents who do not have siblings like that. I want it to be able to be.
So a child in a magnet school who's not zoned there, and they're failing the classes, aren't they removed to their zone school?
Not right away. We just
We
went
work
through
with
that.
them.
Right.
Yeah, we
But
just went through all
beside
that.
Under the
Right.
current
But you know what I'm
procedure.
Beside the point, I think the safest
You
way to
understand what
do
I'm
it
saying?
would be
Yes.
a percentage.
Agreed.
10% or whatever the board agrees upon,
20.
15% that sibling preference get first shot at going into the school, and then the rest goes lottery and yada, yada, yada.
Mrs. Michaelika, do you like the idea at all or none?
So I'm looking at this from both perspectives, from, a family perspective, where you have a family that has young children and they have to drop their child off at this school and this school and this school. Going back to what Lisa had shared and how our magnets, where they were built and the purpose and that kind of thing, it is what it is at that point. But I think for families, there needs to be, if we can't all agree on what that looks like, then it does need to be a percentage, because I feel like that's the right thing to do for families and, keeping families together. Having one sibling in kindergarten at this school and another at 3rd grade is really difficult. So I think having some flexibility would definitely be beneficial for students.
And we're losing families because of
And that's
that.
the other thing, that whole choice piece. I mean, there's a lot of choices, and
That helps with our car line as well at all the different schools.
right.
And I just stand corrected that there's 5 allocations at Challenger, and kindergarten 1 is, I guess, gifted. So there's a total of 6, but 5 for magnet, so that would be 90 students. So I'm just trying to give you the number, so when you think of percentages, that so if it was 10%, basically you're talking about nine possible spots. Possible.
Right.
So if you're talking 20%, you're still talking.
So do we want her to come back and bring this back, or do we want to agree and have her fix it and move forward?
Okay,
So
so
what
Mrs.
percentages?
Michaelika just explained. So Mrs. Cropley, do you share the same sentiments?
I mean, I think at this point, in our school choice journey and all of the barriers that we're up against as
Why I
far as
asked
other
that is
options.
usually the two of you is good cop, bad cop.
I know,
So
I know.
I need to get your perspective as well.
Gave you the bad cop answer.
I did.
And then I gave
You're the bad cop.
She's
was-
already answered it, right?
So basically, if I heard you right, you really don't want to open it back up because of what happened in the past.
I agree. I think sibling preference, you're going to have a school of all siblings. I absolutely understand
Not with the
intent.
percentages.
Not with the percentage.
No.
Right. I understand the intent of it and
Do
to
you
help
wanna-
families out.
Do you want to speak on Mrs. Hawkins telling you not with the percentages? What do you feel about?
I think that is a compromise,
That will work.
definitely, to allow.
So now we
I
just
think
gotta
you're
figure
still
out
going to
percentage.
have the,
10.
well,
That's what I
where
said.
am I? When is that going to happen? If it's,
Well, and if it is a sibling that moves and a sibling position is open at the end of the day, if there's not a sibling, it goes back to lottery anyways, so your lottery number may end up being higher.
That's what I said.
Correct.
60, 30,
Yeah.
10.
Do we want to talk about what if it's more?
No.
Okay.
We can only.
What if the siblings are more, then they're just on the lottery list?
They're on
And
the
then-
list
I mean,
because we don't.
and we said it's not guaranteed, it's a
not
preference.
guaranteed.
But I do want to go back to twins. I do still hold strong that I think if one twin gets in, the other should get in.
That's a different category. That's a different category.
I know.
Well, let's talk. We have to talk about it then.
I know, but
We
it's
just
just,
did.
can you imagine having 2 kindergartners and one of them doesn't get in? That's just terrible.
That
Yeah,
is,
multiple preference.
Yeah, there is, but it doesn't happen. It
zone
doesn't
school
because
together.
your magnets kids get in and the
Then they
lottery
go to
get in
their
and then
zone
they like
school
go to the
together, Ms.
top. It
Hawkins.
usually
Then
doesn't
at
get
that
in.
point, they go to their zone school together, the twins, and they try again the next year.
I still disagree.
Listen, I had triplets in our thing, and my kids, yeah, so, okay. But anyway, 60, 30, 10, the multiples, if they get in, one gets in and one don't,
Okay, I'll
then the
give you-
parent has
I'll-
to make the choice.
I'll give you guys some percentages, and I'll go with that some. But the multiples, I agree with Mrs. Bonzik on that.
Okay, fine. I still think it's.
I'm not going to give you, Mrs. Hawkins, the
All
multiples.
right.
So
I got
60, 30,
something.
10.
I'm good. I think 30, 20, 50.
That's what I said 6 months ago.
60 the lottery, 30 port, and 10 siblings.
That's not very many. That's what.
That's
All right,
10
ladies,
kids.
Ladies,
All right.
Still
once
90.
again, what percentage do you like?
My concern is how.
I 30, 20,
Mrs. Williams,
50.
what's your concern?
I'm with you.
So my concern is if you have 10% and you're, say we're just doing kindergarten, we're
50,
offering 90 seats,
30,
that's 9
20.
kids. Well, we probably wouldn't have more than 9
Siblings.
Right, you.
Right.
But if you had more, then
So-
how do you
Well,
figure
Casey
out
wants
which?
on the
50,
waiting
30,
list.
20.
Wait, hold on.
thank you.
Don't change your numbers yet. Mrs. Williams, go ahead. And how do you what?
They would just go on the waiting list if they didn't get in that
Right.
percentage.
So you're saying it would be 9 kids essentially if it's the 10%,
Well, no, well.
depending
think
on
about
how
it.
many. If we're
Between
guesstimating,
8 and 9. It's
between 8 and 9 siblings are allowed to
That's for
enter.
kindergarten.
For
That's
kindergarten.
for kindergarten.
So
Now,
that means-
Keep in mind, there's a lot of years, having been the principal there's a lot of years where most of your other grade levels don't have any seats available. You might have one.
Right.
It's understandable.
Right. I understand.
6th grade, it'll be kindergarten.
But
and
that's
sixth
where
grade.
you do the whole, if we don't have availability,
We don't have.
we don't have availability. We can't put kids in, even if they were on the lottery and not siblings, we can't put them in a seat if we don't have availability.
Okay, let's make consensus here. Are we doing the 10% or are we doing the?
I prefer 20%.
What did you,
For sibling
what did you guys suggest?
She's asking the board.
I know, but I want to ask a former principal as well. I just want,
Do you want 50, 30, 20, or do you want?
My recommendation
60, 30,
would be
10.
the 10, and let's see how that goes. But,
Let's start with that.
Well, it's good, and we'll also be able to collect data and see. Honestly,
Let's
it would
start
help
with
us.
that.
right.
I agree.
I mean, this is brought to you every year. We'll
Yep.
have that data.
And I'll argue the twins next year.
Every year, Dawn.
Every year you can, yes. 60,
year, Donna.
60, 30, 20 for sibling preference, the 10%. Thank you, guys.
60, 30, 10.
30, 10, yes.
Okay.
That's what I said, didn't I?
No, you said,
No.
you said
Oh,
60, 30.
That's
I
because
just
Casey
want to
got my 20 going on.
Okay.
60, 30, 10, that's what I had to begin with.
Okay, and that is, speaking specifically for Challenger, that is anybody that is at the school, because that does include our gifted program. So if they're there.
That's anybody at the
Anybody at
school.
the
I
school.
agree with that.
we can
And
make sure that
Challenger,
we-
and Chocochatty, both schools, like this is what we got, 10%
Right, regardless
sibling.
of what program they're in, is my
100%,
question.
yes.
Same thing with Nature Coast.
Nature Coast is zoned,
Partially.
partially zoned, so,
Same percentages. Why complicate it?
Because they don't have a portfolio at Nature Coast.
they
It's
don't have
all
a purple-
lottery.
It's all lottery.
So with Nature
lottery.
Coast,
All lotteries,
So-
10% is fine.
10%
Let it go at 10%. Keep it the same,
So-
see how it works.
So it's 70% lottery, 30% zone right
zone,
now.
Sorry, yeah.
So
60%.
60,
Hold on.
30, and 10.
Yep.
Okay.
Same as all of them,
You got it?
60, 30, 10, period, all across our magnets.
And if we're less than 10%, it goes
Taking
back
it-
to the
the
lottery.
lottery.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
All right, we're done. Why you look like that, Miss Williams?
You can
Because
rewatch
I'm
the meeting.
thinking, I'm just thinking this through, what it looks like.
Think about it for a second so that,
No, it'll be fine. I just
good?
need to think about it.
okay.
Okay.
So
So
we'll
any
get,
further
we'll get the
discussion?
verbiage correct in here, get it spelled out, and I think that'll be fine.
All right. Thank you so much. And wait, she has one more question. I can see it.
Just to clarify now, does the sibling include now the multiples? Are we changing the multiples language?
No, they said to keep the
Multiples
multiples the same. I lost that battle.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, ladies. All right. At this time, we're going to take a short break. It is 3:45 p.m. We'll reconvene in a little bit. We are returning to our meeting at 3:52 p.m. Item number 4, 273861, discussion of the student delegate program and role of the student representative to the board. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Pender, students, faculty, staff, and community members. At this time, on behalf of the Hernando County School District, I would like to present agenda item 27-3861, discussion of student delegate program and role of the student representative. I am joined today by my colleagues, Principal Ed LaRose, lead high school principal, and Ms. Amy Crisp, Hernando County School District student delegate advisor. And we are available to answer any questions you have. At this time, Amy will guide you through the presentation.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to revisit the student representative program In preparing for this workshop, I've spent time reviewing the history of our program, looking at practices in other Florida districts, speaking with our own student delegates and advisors, and reaching out to representatives connected with state and national student board member and student voice organizations. I've tried to look at this from several angles: governance, student leadership, preparation, family involvement, and student support. I'd like to briefly walk through the history of the program, how it currently operates, and some recommendations for strengthening it moving forward. And then I'll get into the representation models and the feedback that we've gathered. The purpose today is really to look at how we continue providing a meaningful student leadership opportunity while recognizing that this is also a very public-facing role. I'd like to first establish where the program came from and how it has evolved before we get into the specific options. Right. The position dates back to 2011. The board workshopped it in March of 2011, held a public hearing in May, and ultimately formally adopted the non-voting student representative position into policy 2.213. That policy was included in this presentation and attached to the agenda item. There's a snippet of it up there for you. That policy language was not carried into the Neola conversion in 2017, but the program itself continued, as we know. Today, we're looking at how to strengthen and refine a program that has been a part of Hernando County Schools for about 15 years, stemming from this policy. When I went back through previous board discussions, I found that many of the same themes have come up over time. And these specifically I pulled from those early workshops in 2011. Board members have recognized the value of student engagement, leadership development, and direct student feedback. At the same time, there have also been concerns about public exposure, attendance, and making sure appropriate safeguards are in place. So I think what we are discussing today is really part of an ongoing conversation about how to do this well. So our current structure of our student representative program, each high school identifies one senior candidate. Those students receive information about the campaign process and the responsibilities of the role. I do this through Canvas, giving them materials, and also having a virtual meeting with their advisors, so students and advisors. And the students then campaign across the district with rules and expectations set in place for that campaign process. Our younger student delegates also participate in the process by viewing those campaign materials. So we house the videos on Canvas, the different information about the candidates. Those students then engage with students at their schools, whether it be through student government, student council, so they can collect feedback and start to form their decision. One area I'm proposing we strengthen significantly this year is what happens before a senior candidate is ever authorized to campaign, before that process starts, and I will show you that in a few slides. One of the unique pieces of this program is the district-wide mock election that we hold in partnership with the Supervisor of Elections. I want to emphasize the word mock. It's an educational civic engagement experience for our students. The Supervisor of Elections helps us provide an authentic election experience and formal voting procedures, but it is not a certified government election. Students hear from guest speakers. Many of you spoke at our election last year. They view campaign materials, including the campaign videos. They hear from the senior candidates and experience the process of what casting a ballot is like. The mock election is the process our district uses to select the senior student who will serve in the district's non-voting student representative role. Once selected through the district-wide mock election process, the student representative begins serving in the role. That student becomes the visible senior voice of a much larger student network. So they do give their board updates. They have that agenda item. They attend many different district events. They are responsible for organizing the student delegate meetings, and they've also been given speaking opportunities. This year, we were able to have our students speak at Hernando Grown for the middle school date, as well as the Teacher of the Year celebration. So that's something that will continue to grow. One thing I want to strengthen is the connection between those activities so that the standing agenda item at the board meetings reflects more than just the school events. It can increasingly show what students are being asked, the student delegates that I'm referring to, what we're hearing from them, and what follow-up has occurred. Canvas is something that we started using last year. It's something that the district has available, and in my role as an instructional technology specialist, I work with Canvas every day, so it really has become something successful to help the program. It gives us a district-wide structure to connect the students in our entire student delegate cohort between meetings. We've used it for communication, discussions, gathering student input, photos, and videos. And what I'm proposing this year is to expand Canvas considerably, not just for the delegates, but as a required onboarding course for our senior candidates before the mock election. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. All right, and this brings us to the piece of the program that has generated the most discussion over the last several months. So under the current model, our student representative is seated at the dais, providing their update during a standing agenda item, and they are not a voting member. They generally do not participate in board deliberation unless they're specifically asked. And before we talk about whether that seating structure should change, I want to show you the changes I believe we should make regardless of where the student ultimately sits. So our high school advisors met in May to talk through the program and possible models, possible alternatives. What became clear to me afterward is that there are several improvements we can make that have nothing to do with the chair specifically. And probably the biggest gap I identified was family involvement on the front end. We're asking a high school senior who is a minor to accept a very visible leadership position. And I feel that the student and their parent or guardian should fully understand that role and make an informed decision together before they even officially become a candidate. And on top of that, knowing what support exists before they step into the role as the student representative, because the support, it's there, we have it. So the recommendations I'm about to show you apply under either seating model, and these are things that I've organized, like I said, from meeting with the high school advisors, from speaking with students, and then from research from different national student board member associations, state associations, and the Superintendent's Association. All right, so the first change would actually begin with the application. That would include a student acknowledgement, a parent and guardian acknowledgement and approval, a principal acknowledgement and approval. Advisors would give their information on there as well. It would bring attention to the availability and time commitment that comes with the role, and also acknowledge the public-facing nature of the role. So, let's see. After that, they'll have the Canvas course. The senior candidates would complete a much more intentional Canvas onboarding course. So instead of just giving them the election rules, letting them know a preview of the role, this will really take them through what the role can be and what they'll need to know and be able to do to serve it well. The Canvas onboarding, I have a course that I've been building. It's 8 modules. I can give you more information on it if you would like, but it would bring students through understanding the role, understanding student perspective, meaningful representation, knowing the district, so who's who does what, who would you go to if you're seeking clarification on certain topics, seeking for support. School Board 101, how the meetings operate, different sunshine laws, aspects pertaining to the school board meetings themselves, public service and civil discourse, student voice in action, so how to gather meaningful input, how to lead, those student voice workshops that we have where all the delegates come together, and how to do follow-up with that and have that meaningful change. Public presence and digital citizenship, so that would be how public-facing leadership roles can affect and tie into social media, personal communication, and the way that others might interpret what you say or share. And then at that point, they'd be able to build their campaign video, which we already have students do. Right now, the campaign video, it really serves as, introducing themselves and what they're passionate about. But after doing this Canvas course, they'll build that video to be something where they can explain how they will use the role, how they will gather input from students, and how they will represent them at board meetings or just different district events. See. All right, the orientation. That may have been out of order with the slide. Let me see. All right, so let me just skip ahead to the orientation. Okay, another aspect that we are recommending as the high school advisors and myself would be a pre-service orientation. So the students have already completed the application. They've gone through the Canvas course, all 5 of our high school candidates, and then this pre-service orientation would come in after the student is selected at that mock election. So once a student is selected, we would require a pre-service orientation between the student and then at least one parent or guardian before they assume the role and start attending those board meetings in their role. So those meetings would include meeting with our superintendent, our board chair. It could include meeting with Mr. Ellerman, our director of communications, student services, and myself as their district advisor, just so they're aware of the support that exists, having a walkthrough of the school district and getting them acquainted with the role, answering questions that they may have, talking about, potential scenarios. It would be a great way to establish that open communication and build that support early on. Okay. Our third recommendation would be the ongoing adult support and escalation. A lot of these things have already been in place, but this really formalizes it. So it gives us structure throughout the year, the regular check-ins, pre-meeting preparation. I already have met with our student or been in contact with them before every board meeting, looking at their presentation, giving suggestions, answering questions. So that's something that would continue, are those check-ins before the board meetings. If there are concerns, we would have that clear escalation process where it starts at the school level, reporting it to their high school advisor. They would involve then whoever is necessary, whether it's admin, a counselor, and then from there, it would escalate on to the district advisor. I would get in touch with anybody I need to here, and then just making sure that board members have things brought to their attention, whether it's a brief that needs to happen. That way they're aware if there is something going on that is relevant to that board member and their ability to carry out their role. Okay, so our recommendation number 4 would include an expanded, meaningful student input system. This is something where we see an opportunity to make the role more meaningful. The idea is to create opportunities for our high school representatives to have real conversations with district leadership about issues that affect students, and this would be outside of the board meetings. A topic can come from the school board to the student representative. It could come from our student delegates, or perhaps our student in observing a board meeting, an agenda item, something that was said in public comment, where they can then take this back to their other high school representatives. They can bring it to their feeder schools to get student input and carry on with those important conversations. The representative can use the board update to not just report what's happening in our schools. Right now they share, all of the positive things that are going on, different events, but they could also use that time to share what's going on with whether they're meeting with the other high school students to workshop a certain topic, or just what they're talking about, what students are talking about. So it's just that chance to coordinate what students want to bring with the district personnel that can help, answer those questions or enact change. All right, so with all of those supports in mind, now I want to come back to the question that prompted much of today's workshop. There are 2 primary models before us. This is something that I developed through surveys with our high school advisors, with our K-8 advisors, with students, to narrow it down to really 2 options. Option 1 would be to maintain the seat at the dais with the supports that I just described. Option 2 retains the selected student representative and their standing board update, but it moves their regular seating to the staff area, and it has them come forward to their presentation, to do their presentation, such as from the podium. The added preparation, family involvement, and support would apply under either model. So with option one, I know I've already gone through the different slides of the support. It would maintain the existing seating structure, but what surrounds that seat would look significantly different with the onboarding, the application, and the current visible structure would remain. So I have the benefits and concerns, and again, these were taken from surveys with the students and from the high school advisors. The benefits are pretty straightforward. This option preserves the visibility of student voice, maintains the tradition, and reinforces that this is a meaningful district leadership position. And the concerns are also real. The student is continuously visible. They do spend considerably more time on camera, and they would than they would if they were just giving the presentation. And there can be pressure associated with sitting alongside elected officials, even though they're not voting. It gives that kind of misunderstanding. And those are legitimate concerns. Now with option two, this does not eliminate the student representative. We still have a student representative, but that student would have a reserved place at our board meetings alongside our district staff, and they would come forward to give that update. Again, all of the onboarding, the family orientation, and that support would remain. The benefits and concerns that I collected regarding option two, the obvious benefit is that it may reduce some of the continuous pressure and that live stream exposure while preserving the representative's public speaking role. And the trade-off is that it does change that longstanding tradition that we have. It could have the perceived value, reduce the value of student voice, and it may appear reactive to criticism. As part of my surveys, I did ask our high school advisors, and at the time, this was our junior and senior delegates, just if they had to choose which option best balances student voice, the leadership opportunity, and the response to the current concerns, which option would they choose? So I have those results here on the slide. Out of our high school advisors, 3 voted they would maintain, while 2 would move to the rear table model. And out of our junior and senior delegates, 5 voted to maintain, while 2 voted to do the rear table model. All right, so there are a couple of things I think we can say regardless of which direction that we take. There has been broad support for continuing the tradition of selecting one senior student representative. That's something that I did ask our students and our high schoolers, just because, I mean, that is an option of having multiple or not having one at all, but out of everybody that I surveyed, they still want the one student that represents our district students. Either model still does carry public visibility with it as well, which is something that we do have to acknowledge. So the unresolved question is really how we want that visibility structured during the board meetings. Now, over the past several months, I've done a lot of research on other Florida school districts. There is the model that aligns with ours, with students seated on the dais. So there are multiple districts that do this, but there isn't a standard approach. It does not look the same from district to district. So with some of these schools, and I put on here how they identify the student, so what they call the student advisor is a common name. Some school districts do call them a student school board member. But these are all districts that do put students on the dais. There is one district on here that formerly had a student representative. They no longer do, but I could not find the reason why they took away the position. I even emailed board members, but I haven't received a response because it did happen in 2009. So that was the only instance I could find of a district taking away the position. The second model, these are all other districts that have some form of student representation, but it's not with that formal role, the leadership opportunity. They may have advisory councils. Pasco County Schools is one example of that, where they have a superintendent's advisory council that meets, and then they may come to some board meetings to give updates. There is a precedent for both philosophies here. It's just a matter of thinking what we want and what works best for our district. All right, so the conclusion I reached from the research is that there simply isn't one statewide model. Districts make different choices based on their own traditions, priorities, and philosophy about student participation. So I think our question is, how does Hernando preserve meaningful student leadership, make sure students are prepared and supported, maintain authentic student voice, and balance that with the realities of a public-facing role? And then finally, when I began working on this, the most visible question was where the students should sit. And the more I looked at the program, the more I felt that the greater opportunity was everything surrounding that student, the support and preparation we give the student. I want students to understand the responsibility before they become candidates, parents to feel informed and involved before their child accepts the opportunity, and the student ultimately selected to know that they have a clear support system throughout the year. Whatever seating model we ultimately choose, I think we can preserve meaningful student voice while doing a much better job preparing and supporting the student who volunteers to represent their peers. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know
Thank
that
you
was
for,
a lot.
Yes, thank you for all your research and putting this presentation together. I'm going to go around and let everybody speak how they feel on this, and then if we have questions as well, we're going to try to really use our lights so we're able to really get our thoughts put out. Mr. Johnson.
I believe Gadsden is the county that had 12,000 students, and it was reduced to 4,000. And they've closed schools, so that may be why they didn't respond to you. You're not getting an answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what I was going to say.
Yeah, and I couldn't find anything. I looked in their agenda, like meeting minutes. There was never a discussion about it that was public record. It just disappeared. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll go around. Who wants to go first with their thoughts on this or have questions? Let's start with Ms. Duvall.
Having been a part of this program since 2011, I value the report that you have put together. It's very concise, changes the structure and the format quite a bit, which is good. I still want, bottom line, I still want the student up here on the dais. I think that is a message that goes out to our community, our students especially. And let's everybody know that this board is very supportive of the student voice. And yes, we had an issue. I think what you've put together resolves most of that, although we never can, apparently in society today, treat each other with kindness and respect. I don't think that should be the driving force that makes us remove a student from being up here with us.
Thank you. Ms. Bonzik?
So I also appreciate everything you did. Being a mom, it scared me last year, and I will never put a child in jeopardy. So as a school board member, it's my job to protect every child and any child, no matter where they're at in our district, right? With that being said, do I want to remove our student from sitting next to me? No. But I also want, and you did put it in the acknowledgement, I want parents to be aware of what we can and we cannot do to protect their child, right? And that's the biggest thing for me, is that before they even come up here and say, I'm going to do this, everybody knows what could happen. I'm an adult. I get attacked for what I do and decisions I make by sitting here. But I'm an adult. I can accept that. And I would never put that on a child, ever. So with that being said, depending on what the rest of the board is, I am fine with them sitting here. I am fine with them giving. I also don't want to put a child in jeopardy that she sits here the whole meeting and gets criticized because she looked the wrong way. Or he. Boy or girl, whichever's sitting next to me. But a student, I don't want them to be attacked or criticized or anything like that and have it put back on them without the support of their family. Because as a school district, we'll always support our children. But sometimes it's a family decision on what they do. So I do have an acknowledgement that I've kind of wrote up for our board attorney to look at to see, to make sure that everything is covered in some of the incidents that we went through last year. But I will go either way. I don't want to remove the program from our schools. I want it to stay. I did have an idea, though, when we do our voting, I would like to see more middle school kids and not so much delegates or into the thing, but middle school children coming in and voting for our senior reps that aren't just random classes. 3 kids from each middle school come in and vote and make them more of our deciding factor than kindergarten kids. I don't want it to be a popularity contest for kindergarten kids, and I've watched it 2 years in a row, and the kindergarten kids are like, oh, I like her hair, I like her dress, I like this. They didn't hear anything they said. And I think that, part of me was like, I kind of wanted the adults to decide, because the adults are actually listening to what these children are saying and how they want to better represent the schools. But then it defeats the purpose to have it as student. So I'd like to see at least 3 middle school kids come from each one of our middle schools and vote. So that would be my only suggestion.
Okay. Do you want to respond to that?
Yes, so our current structure right now for the voting, we have our elementary schools, they each receive 1 vote. The middle schools receive 1 vote. The K through 8 schools receive 2 votes. So the elementary student is voting, the middle school student is voting from the K through 8s.
I want to see 3 from.
Put your light on, please, Ms. Bonsick.
I'd like to see 3 from the middle school.
Ms. Duvall?
That brought up a point that I remember from a while back. Our district calendar at one point was always swayed by elementary teachers because they outnumber secondary. And so there was a solution put in place for that. So I understand what you're saying, and I think that is something that should be considered, because you have obviously a larger number of elementary schools than you do middle and even maybe high school. So if something could be worked out on valuation of votes, that might help.
Okay, so I'm thinking our middle schools, we do ask our middle school advisors to have a 7th grade and an 8th grade representative. It's something where we could expand it to have a 6th, 7th, and 8th grader, and instead of just the 8th grader casting their vote, perhaps all 3 students from the middle schools cast a vote.
Okay.
I have other voting, just proposals for the voting process. I didn't attach it. It's not something I didn't know if we were going to discuss it or not, but it's something I can definitely share with you all. I know for the high school as well, our current structure, the senior cast the vote. I'm not sure if we should change that to where the junior delegates are the ones casting the vote and not the senior, or if we wanted to expand the number of votes our high schools get as well, if we're going to look at middle school.
I would like to see that, expand it more. It's no, so we're trying to teach our kids, right, that this is how election is done, right? And I don't just say when we go to run, we don't say only our District 4 can vote for us. Our whole school should really be voting for who's representing.
But I have a problem with that completely. Mrs. Bonsick is correct. I have a problem with that with this, and I also have a problem with that with our high schools. Because when our high schools turn out that 60 kids vote out of the whole high school, or out of a grade level, there's a problem. So right now, our students in high school are not efficient. They're not understanding how important it is to vote, but that's on us. Because really they should be voting in their history class, their civics class. It should be voting to where it shouldn't be open, say at a high school, at lunchtime. At lunchtime, they already don't understand. A lot of parents don't even speak this to them, so they have no idea. So then when they're voting for a president for the junior year, senior year, sophomore year, and these kids are expected at lunch to take time out from being able to talk and mingle with their friends and eat and go over and do the responsible adult thing because they're not adults to go and vote. They don't, because it's not significant to them. So I think that falls on us. I think it falls on us to help teach that important part of that your school that who you pick for a president, for a vice president, dictates how that year runs and how robust it's going to be. And I think that we're missing the mark. We're missing the mark at many high schools. I'd say, on the fact that maybe some of them I've heard that some do it better than others. Let's put it that way. But I think that when I'm getting the results of 60 students in all of the whole junior class or senior class, whatever it is, for the president, for the junior, not for this, but for other things, I'm just talking about that. That is weak. That means that those kids that worked hard to run, like Mrs. Bonzik said, it's a limited amount, and they shouldn't have even ran, really. There's no point in making all those signs, going there, putting them up, posting them, working hard, doing what they did when there's not even a turnout. So I think that's on us. I think we could do better. I don't think that putting it in the lunchroom or at times where these kids are passing through, that's going to be the time to capture them. I think when they're sitting in a classroom and they get the option to be able to vote at that time, not that we make them, never do we make them, but if they so choose to participate, they're going to participate so much more because they're sitting in their class and they're not out having to do extracurricular activities for themselves. So they're not being selfish, if you will. At that moment, they're in a classroom, so they're going to do what they need to do. And then back to this. I was there last year, and I was in this same room right here when it happened. And I didn't think that process was accommodating. I thought, and even teacher delegates that were in the room with me said that they didn't like it as well. So I do think that you're onto something when you say we can restructure it, we can revamp it. I think we need to look at the whole thing and not just making a couple changes, because any of you can come here and watch how that's run, and you've got the small children picking the person that had the pink bow. You got the small children picking the girl in the pink dress. I just don't think that for these upperclassmen that have worked this hard to get here and they've taken this job serious, that we should put the fate of their decision in these children's hands that are 5 and 7 and 9. I just don't agree with that. I think that there's a time and a place for them to start learning. But if you think about it, you guys all say, well, let's not take this from them. They're little. They need to learn the process. Well, if that's the case and you want them at 5, 7, and 9 to have some importance value of this, why are we not reaching that at the high school level? So if you're going to argue the point with me that they need to be a voice in this, which I don't think they do at that age, I'll argue the point that the age that you should be concerned about is the high school age. The high school age where these kids are not having a turnout and nobody is voting. So if you really want to get into something, that's when we should be looking at it, not here whenever these little children are looking at these upperclassmen trying to have to pick to put them up here. To me, that's not a fair shake. And I've seen that time and time again. So one school may get the same person every single time, but it's not fairly selected. It's on a bunch of small children that like how that person looks. Let's say that school happens to have a girl each time and she's all dressed up and has everything, the bows and all the stuff in her hair, and those little kids, I watched them. I watched what they said. I was observant. I heard them. They pick on the clothes. They pick determining on what the outfit, whether they like the girl's long hair, curly hair, what have you. So I think that all of that needs revamped.
Okay, I do hear what you're saying. I know when it comes to the high schools, the way that it works right now is every school determines how they run their student government, how they would run elections. That's not guidance that we give to the high schools.
No, I understand, and I'm not here to take that away. I think the principals should be able to, I'm not here to micromanage. I think the principals should be able to keep control and have the ultimate decision and have that power. By no means am I one to sit up here on this board and take that power and that control out of their hands. I believe in our principals. I just don't think that our principals or our assistant principals, they're so busy wearing so many hats, doing so many things. It's a lot for them to undertake on every facet. But I just am here to say that these are all things that we have to bring to people's attention, and all of us have to work together, because no one's doing it on purpose. But when we get the results and the turnouts are less and there's nothing there's no significant amount of people even voting, why even have why even hold that? Why even hold the election? Why should somebody even work at that? So, Mr. LaRose, I think you understand what I'm saying. So I think that it's something you as a lead principal can probably do with everybody, because these kids work hard, the couple that want to try it. And then when all of a sudden they realize they didn't get it and they look and see how many people voted, 47 out of the whole class. Well, Of course, they didn't hardly stand a chance. 47, so if 38 of them were that person's friend, the other person, and they went around to 30 people and said, vote for me, the other person didn't even get a fair shake. So you get what I'm saying? It's just very hard. So I think that we could do better all the way around, which all of us learn and all of us can continue to grow. So.
Yep. And then just to add, I can let our high school advisors know, and you can share with the other principals that our supervisor of elections, she is willing to go out to the different high schools and help them run those elections. I know Hernando High did it at the end of this last school year and turn it into an assembly, a full event where the students are involved, have a system in place, so that it's something that we can share and at least offer guidance, offer recommendations on.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson had to comment really quick. Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. I agree in part, or mostly in part, with Mrs. Rodriguez, but why not, Ms. LaRose, have an election day at your school where at one period you take 10 minutes and say, okay, vote for your representative. You'd get how many classes full of votes? And if they all didn't vote, that would be fine. But you could do it very simply, and we could do that maybe throughout the district on the same day. Make it election day. In regards, moreover, to the whole situation, I don't think I'd like to see the representative stay on the dais. Only from the exposure we had last year, which was horrible. Nothing that she did. She didn't do anything wrong. But some people in the community are a little off balance. That's not going to go away very soon. So my concern for the safety of the student would be not to have he or she on the dais for a little while. If it's a year or 2 years until things calm down and that person hopefully grows up. I'm also in favor of reducing the number of speaking engagements the representative has. I think that the representative also should have less input on issues facing the school board, so they're not in the middle of a controversy. What I'm looking at is how to protect the student, not to limit a voice. And I think that might help. You said expand meaningful conversations. I 100% disagree with a student representative having access to any sensitive or confidential conversations or issues facing the school board. Absolutely, 100%. They're children. They don't know how to keep a secret when they have to. Inadvertently, it would come out. I am opposed to that for that reason. Hold on.
Okay.
And the misunderstanding you spoke to about the role, I think if they're sitting in the back, and I think it's a good idea they sit with staff in the back, that would kind of maybe separate them from the school board, so the role that visually the public can see that there's a separation. And my concerns are more about protecting the student and not putting him in a position like we had last year. That was just plain disgusting. And I'm sorry I feel so strongly on that, but I still think we should continue the program. I think it should be in the back of the room. Again, if we could arrange it, we have an election day and take arbitrarily 11 o'clock on a whatever October or whatever day we want to do it, and have an election in the classroom. I'm sure our teachers can give up 10 minutes of a classroom time to collect ballots and have them marked by somebody, or have the student government at that point count the ballots and check them off, whatever you want to do. That would instill the civics involved. The lesson is supposed to be learned by having that delegate up here and not having a 60-student vote in a school.
Mr. Johnson, are you finished? I think she wanted to respond to Mr. Johnson, and then we'll go to Ms. Rodriguez.
So to go back just to the meaningful input part, that was something we were recommending as the student representative and the other high school students could meet with, say, Mr. Pinder and be able to have those conversations, not to receive district information, but to share, concerns that are going on in the schools, because that's not something that they currently are able to do, where they could ask, questions.
I think that's a great idea. And if
Okay.
I brought it to Mr. Pinder, and he came up and brought it to the board, that would be the proper way to go about that. That I
Okay.
agree with, but
Yeah, that's what I meant for meaningful input, not to have any access to sensitive information. It was more keeping the student conversation confidential rather than public record where a student could say something where a situation could occur or something be taken out of context.
Thank you for the clarification.
my interest is solely is protecting the student up here from.
All right, thank you, Mr. Johnson.
And can I add just one more about the voting? So I know in an ideal world, and it's something that we've discussed, to have the entire district vote. But right now, if the schools are having trouble having turnout for their own elections, I think that would be a difficult accomplishment to make, to have all students in the district voting. The student delegates right now, the youngest student delegate that we have is a 4th grader. We have 4th and 5th grade, so they're the upper elementary students. And those are students who, at their own schools, are being identified based on their leadership. So they're student government presidents, they're involved in student council. So they're working hard to earn those student delegate roles, and those are the students that come to represent their school with that vote. The way that I explain it to their advisors is the elementary students, the middle school students, they're supposed to view the campaign videos of our representative, bring that to those student government meetings, student council meetings, talk about the different candidates and which way the school would want to vote. So it is not supposed to be a popularity contest or some of the other things that were described that happens here. They're supposed to come informed. I also play the videos at our election. That way the students who perhaps didn't get to see it would get to see those videos. And then they make that casted vote for their school.
Typically, when do those elections take place?
So for this, at the elementary schools?
At the school level?
So currently, I would say in August right now, which is why we scheduled the election for the student representative early October.
All right, so by middle September, they're in place.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, if you had an election day in school and celebrated even to correspond close to with the general elections, now you're bringing civics into it, you're bringing history into it, you can bring a whole host of other activities that would center around that. We had one day, take a half a period, 15 minutes, put the ballots out, let the kids all fill them out, collect them, have the student governments mark them and grade them and put them in piles. And now they get the experience of being a canvasser or a poll worker. And now you have your totals. Now you come into this room and you have more than 60 students in high school.
I understand what you're saying. I think it's just, it shows our student delegates who worked for the role that they are the ones responsible for casting that vote for their school. I know in an ideal world that would be great to have all of the students in the district vote. As a principal, do you want to speak to how you think that would roll out if we had all elementary, middle, and high schools voting?
I think honestly, we need to probably decide how we want our student delegate to go, and then we can move on how you want to handle the voting if we have time. I'm just afraid with our time management. Even if later on you follow up with emails with us, like, hey, these are our ideas on how we're going to vote, and then we could chime in on that. But ultimately, today we really have to decide: are we going to have the delegates sit here or from the back, or what's happening?
Okay.
Ms. Rodriguez wants to
And it's going to take
share her opinion.
because this has been a big thing, so I will be lengthy as usual. I want to be clear that this is not about taking student voice away. According to 2026 statewide information that I also did research on, only 5 of Florida's 67 school districts currently seat student delegates on their school boards, and there are reasons. That means 93% of Florida school districts have found other ways to hear from students without placing a minor in that highly visible position. We can preserve and even strengthen our student delegate program while changing where the student sits and how that student participates. Students can provide a report at every meeting. They can have a dedicated agenda item. They can participate in student advisory councils. They can meet regularly with the superintendent and the board members, which did not happen before. So all of these things that I think you did tell me that this all coming to the forefront has impacted you and has changed things, because I think you said before there was really no activity. And they can bring recommendations directly to us. My concern is that once we physically place a minor on the dais beside 5 elected officials, the public can perceive that child as another public official. that exposes the student to a level of scrutiny, controversy, and personal attack that the 5 adults that are sitting here voluntarily accepted when we ran for office. That minor did not. And we saw that firsthand, and it was horrific. When we already know that a student is being targeted through social media or in person, I don't believe that we should just ignore that risk simply because this is how we've always done it. And we just want to dig our heels in and just say, we're not changing it. We're just not. And especially sometimes it's the kind of the Trump syndrome. It's the Shannon syndrome because Shannon said it. So then you got everybody showing up, the ones that are not thinking everything through and looking at both sides, just a fact, just a rebuttal because it's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it for anything for myself because I have 3 children, one in 5th grade, one in 9th grade, one in 11th grade. I would love nothing more and be honored to have them sitting up here where their mother sat. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. But at the end of the day, I have to stop and not consider my children, not consider putting them up here, not consider having them walk and have a legacy with me, but I have to consider ultimately the safety of that student. That's what I have to consider more than anything. And I have to consider also the risk and the liability that the district takes on. I don't think that we have to, well, Hernando's own website currently acknowledges that the student has no voting power and it does not participate in official board decisions. So there is no governance necessity for the student to physically occupy a dais position. Mrs. Bonzik said it correctly, and so did Mr. Johnson when she said, ultimately, what has to happen for her is she has to sit here and make a decision when she votes. Is she putting a student in harm in what we just saw and how bad it was and what could happen in the next year? So when they're occupying this dais position resembling that of the elected members, in order for the student to provide a report and meaningful input, it's not necessary. We don't have to put them through that. That's a lot of stress. That's a lot of mental anguish. I think that to keep Hernando's entire delegate election system, but we can have the elected student representative sit in a designated student representative location, such as you had suggested, off the elected board dais. They can come forward for a standing agenda item near the beginning of every meeting, or however you guys decide to do it, your formality. They can give the student report. They can answer board questions. They can continue attending delegate advisory meetings that preserves virtually every benefit of the program while creating a visual and functional distinction between a minor serving in an educational advisory role and adults up here holding elected public office. And then if anyone up here wants to say, well, coming forward at the podium, isn't that the same as them sitting on the dais? Coming to the podium to give a student report is absolutely not the same as sitting on the dais for an entire school board meeting. The podium is where people come to provide information and perspective to the board. The dais is where the elected governing body sits, deliberates, debates, questions staff, and ultimately makes decisions. A student coming forward for a designated agenda item is clearly there in an advisory and representative capacity. A student sitting beside elected board members for hours creates the appearance that the student is part of the governing body, even though that student has no vote and no legal authority. More importantly, limiting the student's exposure matters. A 5 or 10-minute student report, them coming up to the dais, that does not place a minor visually alongside elected officials throughout controversial debates, such as Mr. Johnson said, contentious public comments, and difficult board decisions. So my question I'd like to pose to all of you would be to those who want to keep the position exactly as it is, regardless of the impact on the student, I would respectfully ask, do you not feel some responsibility when a child is placed in an environment that has clearly become harmful? We just went through it for a year, and it was not good. There isn't one of us up here that can say that they didn't have that impact and that we didn't see what that was like. Tradition cannot outweigh student safety and well-being. And you have to ask yourselves, at what point do we as adults become responsible? That's exactly what Mrs. Bonzik said. Hats off to her. She said the responsibility lies in her decision. And as adults up here, I understand you did the consensus. You asked. If I let my children make decisions right now for themselves, we would be in trouble because they're children, because they don't know better. And that's why we're adults. So if we continue allowing a student to sit on this dais, knowing that they're being targeted, harassed, and attacked on social media, are we truly acting in that student's best interest? That's what I want all of you to ask yourself. And when it comes to our liability, let me explain that. A parent could potentially sue a Florida school district under many circumstances. We have a lot of different reasons that that could happen to us, because the key issue would be, did the district didn't merely know generally that cyberbullying exists, it knew this particular minor was being targeted, even if the parent signs a waiver. Guess what? We knew, we watched, we witnessed, we kept them here. We didn't change it. Doesn't matter what the parent signs, that paper doesn't do anything in the court of law. So while they were participating in a district created, because we created that environment, we set them up here. Mrs. Bonzik was dead on when she said that. We put them up here with us. Highly visible student position, we knew the harassment was escalating, and nevertheless, we failed to take reasonable steps to reduce a foreseeable danger. So at the end of the day, we also know that this board has actual knowledge that a minor serving in a district-created student delegate position is experiencing cyberbullying and public harassment connected to that role. What potential liability does the district assume if we knowingly continue that exposure and that the student suffers serious harm? Does our knowledge of the ongoing harassment change our duty from a risk management standpoint? And have we satisfied every requirement of Florida Statute 1006.147 and our anti-bullying anti-bullying policy regarding investigation, parental notification, intervention, and protection of the student? So at the end of the day, I cannot sit here and say that what we witnessed, what we felt, what we went through, all the private meetings, all of the things that the public is not aware of, I am aware of. So I cannot stand here in good earnest and say that we're just going to dig our heels in, and no matter what, we're going to put them through the ringer, and they're going to sit up here, because we're just not going to make that change, because traditional, this is what we've done, and we're going to continue. Not to mention, we also had a board up here before that was not for this. Mr. Pender, I think you remember that. We did have a board before, years and years ago, that expressed this exact potential problem. They went with it, but they said, our fear is what could come ahead. And guess what? It did, and it's here. And that was a long time ago. And the climate now in this world has caught up to what they predicted. Back then, it wasn't near as bad. But we have become treacherous. This community, all communities, people, they're ugly. People are vindictive. People are hateful. People have no regard for somebody's emotional well-being. So now we're here. So at the state that we're in right now is what our current boards have predicted would happen. And guess what, folks? Open up your eyes, because we're here. We just went through it, and you don't know what's going to come next. So I'm not willing to put the safety of that student in a position like that ever again. Not at this moment. Mr. Johnson, I concur. I agree completely with Mrs. Bonzik. I concur with you, and I would like to see us be sensible about this and it not be a Shannon thing, because this isn't a Shannon thing. I would love nothing more than it not be the way it is, but we are here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. So I appreciate that we are looking at different models. However, I don't believe that changing where the student sits solves the problem. Whether the student sits at the dais or comes to the podium to give a report, I still believe they're going to be publicly identified as a student representative and could still be a target online. This program has been in place since 2011 and provides an incredible opportunity for student leadership and civic engagement. I would hate us to take that opportunity away because of the inappropriate behavior of adults. We should absolutely put safeguards the best we can in place, clearly define the student's role, but I don't believe eliminating the program is the answer. I think that as a parent, explaining the safeguards, what we can do as a district, what we can't do, the potential, letting that parent and the student decide what's best for their child if they are elected. Do they want to sit up here? Maybe give them both choices. Instead of us just deciding, oh, they're going to definitely sit at the dais, let the student delegate and their parents have that decision. I don't want the lesson to our students to be that when adults behave badly, the student loses the opportunity. I feel like social media, we have students on social media, we obviously have parental consent for that, but at any time somebody could go online on our Facebook page and see our students and target that student, and that student become bullied. The same thing that happened with our student delegate. I think that we provide the best possible safe environment every day for our students. And just like someone had said to me about sports, a parent knows there's a risk when you play sports. If a child is playing football, we provide them with a helmet. We provide them, with the pads to help prevent and hopefully to help prevent injury, but at the end of the day, there's still a risk to that. There's a risk when you send your child to school every day, a risk that your child could be bullied every day when they go to school. There's a risk to drive in a car. We take risks. We can't put a bubble around our children all the time. I just feel that if the families know the risk involved and the students, and we've done everything we can to explain this, I feel that it should ultimately come down to their decision, whether or not they want to sit in the back and come to the podium or sit at the dais. I believe it's a great learning opportunity for them. We are advocating for our students to be leaders, and what a really unique experience, and all of the things that you are doing to prepare the students. I'm like, wow, I wish I had that as a school board member, have somebody come in and prepare, us with the knowledge that you're going to give these students, and just the experience alone. If you've heard past student delegates speak on that, it really is an opportunity that's unique, and I'm proud that Hernando County has that opportunity, and I would hate to see it go to the wayside. So that's my opinion. I know that I respect and I can view and understand Mr. Johnson, Ms. Rodriguez, and Ms. Bonzik's views on it, but personally, this is how I feel. So if we want to just go around, we don't have to discuss if we agree or disagree. We just need to decide, are we going with Model 1 or Model 2, which is Model 1 was to sit at the dais, and Model 2 was to sit in the back and come forward. So if we can just go around and you can just say whether you want to stick with Model 1, stay at the dais, or Model 2, come from the back.
Unfortunately,
Model 2.
to be respectful, Mrs. Chair, I don't agree that we can just go around and speak with Model 1 and Model 2. This is a big event right now, and for you just to say pick 1 or 2, I don't agree. I think
that everybody has voiced their concern, and we're just going
to be a dialogue back and forth. So when you say that anything can happen to anybody, it's risky. That's not exactly accurate on any level. It's not adults attacking kids in sports, like what's happening to the delegate. It's a completely different animal altogether.
And we're just going to have to disagree to disagree on a lot of this, and that's why I'm saying I think it would be best in this situation to just go around and say which model you prefer.
So you're not telling me that, there's a significant difference between the ordinary risk that comes with student leadership and a specific risk that this board knows is already occurring? That's like apples to oranges. And I'm not disrespecting what you have to say. What you say, you don't have to be a Shannon, and I don't have to be a Casey. I get that. But what I'm trying to say to you is, what the case that you're trying to claim here is that there's risk with anything, so let's just leave them sitting up here. But that doesn't fit. That shoe doesn't fit every size. At the end of the day, we're not talking about a hypothetical situation. We're talking about a minor who's been subjected to cyberbullying and public harassment while occupying a highly visible position on this dais. Saying that everything has risk, it's not a reason to disregard a risk that we can reasonably reduce. We are the adults. We chose to run for this elected office, to sit on this dais, to make difficult decisions, and subject ourselves to public scrutiny. But we also are supposed to safeguard these children. That is our job, first and foremost. A student delegate is a minor participating in what is supposed to be an educational leadership opportunity. That child should not have to endure the same political environment that elected adults voluntarily accepted. Moving the student from the dais does not silence that student's voice. I do not want to see this program gone. I've never wanted to see it. A long time ago, someone came up and somebody said something about, well, you said you wanted to remove it completely. No, I never did. If it came out that way, I am sorry that it came out that way. What I was trying to convey is I want to remove the child from being put in harm's way. I want to keep the program. I would never want to eradicate it. So back to people that wrote on social media that you lie, you said one day you want to remove it, and then you said you didn't. I've never wanted to remove it. I have always wanted to keep that program. But I also want to make sure that the student sitting up here is safe. I never want something to happen, and that is on our hands. So moving the student from the dais, once again, does not silence the student's voice. Give the student a standing agenda item. Give them the microphone. Let him report directly to this board. Bring forward student concerns. Make recommendations. Answer our questions. But once we know that the current structure is contributing to a child becoming a target, I don't believe everything is risky. It's an adequate reason to do nothing. I don't agree. I think that because everything's risky, that just gives us an adequate reason, once again, I just said, to do nothing about it. We'll just leave it because everything's risky. Our responsibility isn't to eliminate every possible risk. Our responsibility is to take reasonable steps to reduce a foreseeable risk when we know that it exists, which we know it exists, especially when we're talking about the safety and well-being of a minor. That's what you were elected for. We were elected to sit up here and to safeguard these children and to keep them out of a position that could be horrible. If we can preserve 100% of the student's voice while reducing the student's unnecessary exposure, I believe that that's the responsible choice.
Thank you. I believe it's just as risky having them come from the podium or coming to the podium. Ms. Duval, it's your turn, and then Mr. Myers would like to speak. Thank you.
Okay. I think what you had was a great idea. Option one, option two, let the student decide.
The student and the parent. I mean, it's
Well,
their child.
it's-
I mean, you know, it's
Okay,
their
the
choice.
parents actively involved in this, in this new process. So I will defer to letting the student family decide if they want,
Option three.
option three.
They know the risk. They
Option three,
know what.
people.
Right.
The student can, and parents and family and whoever else involved, let them, we set up this process, we've got it down, let the student, parent, family make the decision each year.
I agree.
And they can sit here or they can sit back there. It's the student voice, okay? Now we are hearing their voice and what they would like to do. And isn't that the ultimate of what we are all about to begin with?
Absolutely.
Putting them on this
Okay.
dais.
Hold on. Okay. Finish, Ms. Duval.
So I would like to put it out there. Third option, agree with you. Let the chips fall.
Okay. Thank
Would
you.
you please call?
All right,
for a
Mr.
vote on-
Johnson.
Would you please call
We
for a
can't
vote
vote.
on
We
this?
We're not really voting. We could just
Well,
have a
consensus.
consensus.
Could
But
you
I
please
think
ask for a consensus.
I will, but Mr. Myers asked to have input,
me-
and then,
My job is to be legal advisor to the board. You can agree or disagree with me. If an item is presented that I believe is dangerous, cannot be justified legally, I would tell you that. Option number one, in my opinion, may not be the best policy choice, but it is legally defensible. If you wanted to keep the student on the dais from a legally defensible, it is legally defensible. Okay, there clearly is greater risk. There's greater exposure. Is it foreseeable? You could make all of those arguments. But if I felt that this is something that would cause great legal damage to the board and the district, I would say that. Having said that, it's a policy decision, whether you want this person to sit on the dais, whether you want this person to sit, in the back with staff. At the end of the day, there is visibility attached to this position, and you can't ignore what's happened in the past. The question is, has the district done enough to try to insulate the student as best they can from these third-party attacks? And I can tell you, the law is not recognizes that there are third parties that, threaten people and students, and it's the responsibility of the board or the district to try to minimize or mitigate those dangers to the student. At the end of the day, though, I think you can legally justify having the student here, but that may not be the best decision like what's happened before. That's a policy decision, that's a legal decision for me to make. But if I believed that this was not defensible in a court of law, I would tell you, you can't go with option one. So it's really up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Mr. Pender, or do you want Mr. Ball?
So this is not my decision. I don't have a vote in this. But I would go with, if I was asked.
Mr. Pender, what would you do?
So I like option 2 or 3. I like giving a little bit of a choice. In 3, I think the safest, obvious thing to do for students is option 2 of the 3. But in my opinion, 2 or 3.
Okay. Ms. Duval?
So, sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said Duval, and then I'll come to you. Sorry, her light was on first. Go ahead, Ms. Duval.
If I only had the 2 options, I would go with 1. But as I said, I like that option of letting the student and the parent and the family make that decision. I think the board could be comfortable, hopefully, with whatever that group of student, parent, family would decide.
Absolutely. All right.
Can I ask a question? Even if the parents that did make that decision last year and they said it was fine, leave them up here, it didn't mitigate the risk and it didn't mitigate the treacherous abuse that she went through. So at the end of the day, it was bad. So whether the parents say, oh, we're okay, we're just going to stick it out. It's not, as adults sitting up here and acting as elected officials and in the capacity of what we have to go through, we don't have to put a child through that just because they want to dig their heels in and say, we're going to make sure that we're going to see this thing through. There doesn't have to be a reason for that. Why would we subject somebody through that? She didn't go through it gracefully and everything was perfect. We had problems. We had lots of problems. So I agree, Mr. Pender, as you're shaking your head, because you know the problems and how significant it was. So when you say option 2, I will say, and it's not a Shannon thing, I have 3 children that I would love to be sitting up here. If anything, I'm extremely competitive when it comes to being able to do everything and us make it all happen. And one of my kids get to be up here too. I love it all. My kids run for everything. I want that. But I know that that's not a mature adult decision after what we've subjected ourselves to and what we've been through. So Mr. Pender, hats off. I commend you. Mrs. Bonzik, thank you for looking at it the way you did. Mr. Johnson, the same, because we are in a position. What did she do, Mrs. Duval? You can say it in your mic. She was explaining that the safety of the children is the utmost importance. So I know you talking to her and laughing, trying to get her to, no, all I'm telling you is that all of us would love if the days were different and times were different to still have it the way it was. But option 2, it does protect the student and it protects the district.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Ms. Bonzik, you did have your light on. Or Ms. Duval, are you finished? Yeah. Ms. Bonzik, do you want to speak now? Or are you finished?
No, I think I'm good. I will always put the safety of the children first. I want acknowledgement from parents either way. However the board goes, I want something from the parents that at any point in time, if something like that was to happen, it's the parents' choice to take them off of wherever they're at or take them out and protect them. I can only protect their children so much. So again, I'm okay with student-parent input on where they sit, but there has to be something majorly drawn up that they know the risks that come with sitting next to here, because not everybody can handle it. And I will not have a child commit suicide or do something while I sit on this board. That will never happen for me.
Well, if it won't, then that's when we need to be the ones making the decision. This is the
But
role
I
that
will
we're
agree
in.
with Casey, whether they sit here or whether they come up to the front, they're still our student delegate. It still could happen. They can still
Be
take
targeted.
pictures. They can still target. The only way to stop that is to take all kids
That's
out
not
of
true.
any role into our district stuff.
That's not true. Do some homework on that, and you'll see I have. That is not true. When they're up there for a few minutes and they leave, it's totally a different perception. It's a different perspective of them sitting up here for hours in a meeting being part of what we're going through. It totally is different.
Okay, so at this time, we need to decide what we're going to do. If we're going to do option 1, 2, or now 3. 2. I say 3. You said 2? Okay, so she's removed. He or she's removed. They'll have to sit at the back and then come forward. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone.
No, we're going to do anything about limiting the role they have as far as public speaking? Because I think that also puts them in a jeopardy. Or are we going to let that go?
When they come to the dais, it's the same, I mean,
That's different. I'm talking about speaking engagements and going out and representing the school district in outside functions. We're going to do anything with that or not?
No, I don't think that.
I think that's part of her. No. All right. So, Mr. Myers, do you have any closing comments?
No, I don't, Madam Chair.
All right. Board, do we have any closing comments?
I do very quickly, and I want to thank Susan for going to the VAB. I couldn't make it this week. It meets twice a year, so somebody's going to have to fill my shoes. And basically with the Value Adjustment Board, every year the amount of cases have been going up that they review. And they had 433 petitions filed for the 2025 tax year. And 139 were withdrawn. They heard 271, which is a little less than 2024. However, the total expense for the special magistrate was $55,606. We're responsible for 1/3 of that, which was $22,242. It's up a little bit from 24, when it was 19,600. It's expected to rise again, because of course the magistrates now make more money, so that will go up. So we're probably looking at about a $25,000 expense on special magistrates. And I just wanted to announce that. Again, Susan, thank you for covering for me.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. And with that, the meeting's adjourned at 5:05 p.m.